Hey guys, and welcome to the very first Man On podcast. My name is Fynn and together I have my two best friends with me, and we're going to be talking about football forever. So, would you like to introduce yourself?
My name's Jackson.
My name's Julian. It's not very nice to meet you guys.
Yeah, so as you can see, we got a Chelsea fan here, a Man City fan here, and a Wolves fan here. Not normally your sort of trio of fans, but you know, we're going to make it work. So the aim for the podcast, I think, is to talk about football, and namely Premier League. I think we're open to branching into other
Yeah, definitely.
scenes. But at least for the start, while we get to know you, you get to know us, it's going to be pretty much Premier League based. Today, the aim is to sort of give a season review so far. We're going to go from 20th to 1st. We're going to talk about the best players, the worst players, or in some cases the most disappointing. We're going to be talking about the high points and the low points for each team this season so far, as well as looking into the future, what to expect for the rest of the season. What's the aim? What should they aim to do? Who should they aim to keep? That sort of thing. Without further ado, I think...
Oh wait, we're doing the team of the season so far as well, for the whole league.
Yeah, alright, well, we can...
Yeah, you just skip over that part, but that's also a pretty important part, so...
Okay. We'll edit
absolutely rattled.
We'll edit this out, bro.
No, it's not being edited out.
Yes, it is.
It's definitely not now.
Now we have to edit
Now I have to edit it out.
Yeah, you shouldn't have said that.
Anyway, so without further ado, I think we should start with 20th place, Sheffield United. Julian.
Oh, okay.
No real standout players so far. Can you make a case for anyone?
You know exactly what I wrote for best player and worst player? I wrote fucking no one, and then worst player fucking everyone. And that's all I have to say.
Probably.
So just for some context, I'm a massive nuffy when it comes to the Premier League compared to these two. These two are the experts. So I will be giving some awful opinions. You're just gonna have to deal with it. So I don't really follow Sheffield. I don't think the name.
You don't really follow anything football related, except for maybe recently you've been.
I just watch Wolves really. Yeah. But like I'm okay with knowledge, but just Sheffield, no. Not a clue.
Worst start to a Premier League season ever by a team in terms of their points tally. They are sort of on track to have the worst season ever. They've been relatively competitive in most games, but there's very little positives out of this team. I mean, they only got their first win a week or so ago, so there's not really much you can say in their defence.
Yeah.
Off of a really, really impressive season last year, a lot of people had them sliding, including myself. I had them at 11th.
Which is 16th, which is looking like a genius call.
Yeah,
So
it was more out of respect.
I didn't have them anywhere.
Yeah, it was more out of respect for what they achieved last season.
I think the big thing is they've been figured out.
Yeah, absolutely.
You saw that after the break in the when COVID hit.
Yeah, absolutely. They were really, really poor in the second half of the Premier League season last year.
I mean, they got a resounding 3-0 win against Chelsea, but Chelsea looked so lethargic in that game regardless.
I mean, Chelsea are just very inconsistent when it comes to those bottom teams.
That is true.
That's true, yeah.
If they're going to get a win anyway.
Look, I've gone for McGoldrick as the best player of the season so far. That's really there's a complete lack of options. There's really no one to go for. He's scored 4 goals this season. There's not really much more to say. Most disappointing, I've gone with Ryan Brewster.
Yeah.
Simply big money signing, most expensive in their club's history. He was pretty hyped up at Liverpool. A lot of fans thought he was going to be a really good player. He hasn't scored a goal.
He never really shone at Liverpool anyway.
Absolutely,
It's just one of those.
Obviously, he hasn't had that many opportunities, a lot of substitute appearances. But even still, for someone that big money, no goals, no assists, no real impact on the team, it's definitely very disappointing. The high point is obviously the one finally getting that win against Newcastle. The red card, really unprofessional by Fraser. But I mean, look, you got to take what points where you can. Low point. Pretty much the whole season, I've got the 3-0 loss to Southampton. Yeah, it's pretty. They haven't lost by more than 3 goals, so that's pretty impressive for a side that's only collected 5 points up until the halfway mark of the season. But there's not really much you can say.
Do you think that they will have a better season than that Derby County team that got?
I actually think they will.
I think it's almost impossible for them not to.
They're too competitive within games in terms of their ability to scrap. and get a goal here and there, and they don't concede much. They're a pretty solid defensive unit.
They will get quite a few draws for the second half of the season.
I actually agree. Yeah.
Yeah, I think
I can't see them surviving.
Oh no, definitely not.
No. I mean,
if they survive,
chance.
That's a miracle.
No chance they move off the bottom of the table.
Yeah.
I just think all they're going to be doing is working towards next season. You want to bring some momentum into the championship because it can be really difficult to come straight back up. That's not an easy thing to do.
Not many teams do it.
Exactly. So you're going to be looking to build momentum towards the end of the season. Keep players enthusiastic, trusting Wilder and the board. I guess. Yeah.
In saying that, not many managers go down with a club and still keep their job. I think from memory, Rafa Benitez with Newcastle was one of the only.
But he took over really late in the season though, so that's really not really.
I think if a lower team puts their trust in the manager and gives them time, which Wilder deserves based on last season alone and the season in the Championship before, he can make it work. They're not a financially rich club.
No, definitely not.
But if they focus on the youth, if they bring in a couple of maybe some loan players for the rest of the season, even there's a chance.
It'll be about maintaining sort of like a certain level, a standard, and keeping players around who maybe would think about moving on to other Premier League clubs.
Look, I think a best case scenario for them is they beat Derby's points.
Yeah,
I think they've got to aim to survive. They have to. They can't just roll over.
They do, but I don't think they will.
I don't think they will either. I think they will finish.
I think they've just got to keep competitive in games. Keep spirits high. That's pretty much all they can do.
I mean, I can see them finishing 19th. I think West Brom they're just a terrible outfit.
I can see it. I just wouldn't bet on it.
You don't? Yeah, that's fair.
Right, well, speaking of West Brom.
West Brom,
moving on
19th
to
place.
Yes.
Just an awful start to the season.
But there are a couple of positives. Conor Gallagher on loan from Chelsea looks very strong in the midfield, and it's actually worrying that their most talented player, in my opinion, is a 20-year-old player who hasn't even made an appearance for Chelsea.
That's probably fair enough.
And Sam Johnson in goal.
I was going to say, yeah.
He's been fantastic. Despite West Brom having the worst defensive record in the league, none of that can be put on Sam Johnson.
He's made 74 saves so far, which I think is a league high at the moment. I could be wrong, but 74 saves is actually, it's unreal.
He's kept them in some games.
He has.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I mean, there's been some highlights, and I think one of which that should be named is their 3-3 draw with Chelsea.
Yeah.
However, that can also be looked at as a negative because they're 3-0 up at half time and they blow a lead.
Not to mention, I sort of had that, and then. Sorry, actually, for my high point, I had draws against City and Liverpool within the space of a week. Yeah. Although in between that, they had a 3-0 loss to Villa, which is obviously a low point. Yeah. So it's really up and down for West Brom. There's no consistency with the team. They've already sacked the manager, the first team to do that.
Which I might add is actually I put that down as my high point. Sacking Bilic. Actually, I don't agree on the way he was let go. I think he probably could have been the right man for the job, but I want to bet $150 I put on at the start of the season for Bilic to be the first manager to leave his post, and I take that as a massive positive.
I also think something that's really worrying going into this back end of the season is their last 2 games they've lost by a combined 9-0.
Yeah,
so that's a 5-0 and 4-0. Look, with a new manager coming in, they have not looked at all rejuvenated or with any sort of energy. So that's really concerning, especially for a team that's got such a poor defensive record. If they're going to keep shipping goals to every team they face, then they've got no chance of staying up.
Right, so for a team that's so bad, where would you say the main areas of weakness are in terms of players? So
they just don't have any talent. They really don't.
Yeah.
Well, who's your most disappointing player?
I've got Ivanovic, and not because realistically, it's with someone with that sort of experience, that CV, that level of talent. You'd expect more than what he's delivered, especially. Again, for the worst defensive team in the league, you expect him to be sort of like a rock, really solid in defence. Lead some of the younger guys or less experienced players in the Premier League. He's won multiple Premier League titles.
He's a Premier League legend.
He's a Premier League legend. And if he's not contributing, then that's just really disappointing in my opinion. And it's not necessarily that he's been the worst. Just that
he's been thrown straight into the deep end.
Yeah,
he's been playing in Russia for the last 2-3 seasons.
But Russia's not an uncompetitive league.
It's not.
It's a good league.
He's playing in Zenit. And Zenit,
that's a pretty big club.
Zenit is a
honestly.
good club. Champions League worthy most years.
So you really would expect more from him, in my opinion, despite the age and coming to the end of his career. But yeah.
Maybe add some leadership onto a very leaderless side.
Well, since I'm a bit of a nuffy when it comes to these teams, I didn't really know who the biggest disappointment was from West Brom. I knew they were just a disappointment in general.
Here's one that might make you think. Grady Diangana. I think he was a youth player at West Ham. And I know Mark Noble was furious when West Ham let him go for 13 million. Big things expected for him. Big West Ham, prodigy, let's say. Mm-hmm. And I think here, no goal, or one goal, no chances created at all.
Yeah.
And he was literally deemed to be the next best thing at West Ham, and he was let go for a pretty sound...
I remember quite a lot of West Ham fans being very upset, especially with them coming into the season as relegation favourites. Letting him go, it seemed like a really good pickup for West Brom.
Yeah.
Something that would give him a big boost in terms
and it wasn't a cheap transfer at all.
Yeah.
13 million for a team that is championship quality.
West Brom don't have money to throw around every player they want. Same thing goes with Sheffield with Bruce. They don't have that sort of money to throw around all the time.
When they make those big money signings, they have to work.
They have to perform.
Yeah. Well, so what do you think is going to happen for the rest of the season?
I think anywhere between 17th to 19th. I couldn't see anything higher than 17th.
So you can see them surviving by the skin of their teeth.
I can. They've got to try the Great Escape. Look, they need Allardyce to pull some miracle. He's got a spotless record. He's never been relegated before.
Yeah.
I can see, especially with teams like Brighton and Burnley just ahead of like sort of out of the relegation zone.
You got to chuck Newcastle.
Everyone other than maybe Sheffield has the ability to stay up. There's still a long time.
I think they're pinned, to be honest.
Okay. I can't disagree. I can't disagree, and I still think they will stay 19th. But every team 19th to sort of like 15th range have all at least got somewhat of a chance to survive, in my opinion, which makes it really interesting.
Well, for my most disappointing player, as I said, didn't know anyone, but Romain Sawyers, 15 appearances, only one chance created. In 15 appearances, no other stats of note. Yeah. Like, what does that tell you about the strength of the West Brom?
Yeah.
A midfielder that plays consistently and doing that.
So
I never heard of the guy, but just look at the stats.
Yeah.
I think we're all in agreement that they will probably join Sheffield in the Championship this season.
Mm-hmm. I think it would be one of the great escapes in Premier League history if they weren't to go down.
No real talent, and Allardyce doesn't. He's a clinical survivalist, and so if he does it, fair play, well appointed. But I think if they go down, I can't actually see them coming up for a very long time.
Yeah, you say that though, but they only went down a couple of seasons ago, and they came almost straight back up.
They did.
Look, West Brom's not a Premier League they're somewhat of a Premier League regular. You expect West Brom to be in the Premier League for the most part. So I've got to disagree with you on that one.
I see them sort of falling into the QPR trap.
Sunderland a bit.
I just don't think they have enough.
Although Sunderland I view as a Premier League outfit, full stop. Even though they're in League One at the moment,
Well, I see West Brom as that same level. So
there you go. That's Sheffield United. Sheffield and West Brom done. Let's finish off the relegation zone as we're filming. So 18th place, Fulham. What do you reckon?
They have a game in hand.
So should we start with their standout three players of the season so far?
Well, for me, Andre Zambo Anguissa, he's been excellent, especially in the middle of the park. He's sort of been able to stabilise them in games, plenty of possession, been really, really effective for them. He's already delivered 2 assists. He's just an absolute workhorse. Probably, like a lesser version of some of the top box-to-box midfielders in the league, but definitely having a really good season.
You could see him playing for a team like Tottenham.
Perhaps not at that level, but like someone like a Southampton or an Everton, definitely I could see him playing at that club. Those clubs,
Well, I put Loftus-Cheek
as their standout player.
Yeah, I'd say so. I think he's been solid every time he's
think he's been alright.
He's been very
He's definitely not been like the worst.
And he's young. He's got potential.
I think he's 24. He was supposed to be again the next best thing at Chelsea, but injuries has kept him down.
And I thought Fulham have been relatively competitive.
If you compare him to when he played at Crystal Palace a couple seasons ago, he was really good at Crystal Palace. He is a Premier League proven player, and he. Unfortunately for me, I don't think he'll ever make it for Chelsea now after his latest big injury, and that hurts me to say because I'm a big fan of him, as you know.
Yeah.
Yes.
But maybe he's too good for Fulham.
Hey, when you watch him, it almost looks like he was born to play football.
He's so skilled.
Yeah, there's some of those players where it just looks like they're meant to be out there, but they just don't deliver the results at the top level.
Well, he looks very comfortable.
Yeah, he looks like he belongs, but at the same time, it's just not quite at the level that Chelsea would be expecting from like one of their absolute top prospects for a very long time. And
Like you said, for Zambo and Gisa, Everton,
Yeah.
Southampton, perfect fits, especially if they're aiming to move up in the table
yeah, definitely.
from where they're supposed to be. Quietly, I put Areola.
Yeah, he actually has been quite good.
Despite
ex-Real Madrid keeper, you'd expect.
Yeah,
a pretty good player.
Yeah, exactly.
It's actually quite a common theme with the smaller clubs, the clubs lower down, that actually their goalkeepers are one of their standouts.
Yeah.
Especially when the goal gets peppered.
Yeah.
I mean,
They get plenty of opportunities to shine.
Yeah, exactly.
So I've got here, he's got 59 saves to date so far in the Premier League this season, which is actually very good. And, he could play at a bigger club as well, I think, with the standout players for the lower clubs.
Well, I mean, he's someone that could definitely go abroad and play for like a top 4 club in one of the other top 4 leagues.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's plenty of clubs in France that would love to pick him up. I mean,
That's a very good shout.
He's someone that should never not be playing like top flight football.
He should always be a number
player.
one goalkeeper.
Yeah,
as well.
absolutely.
If he were to move to a team like, say, Manchester United to play second behind De Gea, or
Yeah,
if De Gea moves on and Henderson somehow is the number one,
Yeah.
that just ruins his career.
Yeah.
He has potential to be a
Yeah.
top goalkeeper.
But not
He
quite.
just-
Maybe like a Ruffier kind of level of player.
Sure, he just
Yeah. Do you guys reckon he'll leave if Fulham go down?
Oh, 100%.
he
No
should.
chance.
Oh, he's on loan though.
Oh, okay. Well, okay then.
Yeah, so very good loan signing.
Yeah.
Um,
For me, most disappointing, I've got Mitrovic.
yeah,
He's this is perhaps a little harsh, but he's someone, every time he goes down to the Championship,
On
and
fire.
even at times throughout the Premier League in his career, he just looks unbelievable. And you just think, hey, this guy, he's going to be a really, really good striker when they come up. And every single time, it's a flash
step
in the
too
pan.
far,
Yeah, he's not quite at the level of the Premier League. He's very, very close, but there's just a certain level where he isn't quite there yet.
I
But
think a player that comes to mind that's pretty much the exact same. Dwight Gale.
yeah,
Oh,
Like
yeah, definitely.
definitely.
He was really hyped up when he was younger.
Yeah, he's still on the books at Newcastle. I think at the end of this season he'll have to move.
He must have
on.
been there for ages.
He's been there quite a while. Had quite a few loan moves out, but
Yeah.
with these type of players, they're good squad players.
Yeah, I
They're
mean,
good.
you need these sorts of players, but it seems that people think Mitrovic is maybe a little bit better than he actually is.
Yeah, I think he was top goal scorer in the Championship when they came up.
Which
So
is phenomenal.
that's very good. It's a very hard league to do that in.
Yeah.
So
But
yeah, it's
quite
disappointing.
often playing the Championship really does not translate to the Premier League.
Oh no, not at
It's
all.
almost
Yeah.
sort of the players that go under the radar in the Championship that sort of perform at the Premier League level.
Well, just on that point, my most disappointing for Fulham, I had Caballero. And I remember watching him at Wolves in that very kit,
Yeah.
and he was amazing for us in the Championship.
Yeah.
And
Fast
now,
player, pretty skilled.
and then when we went up to the Prem, he stayed with us, but he wasn't quite the same. And
Yeah.
now it's kind of the same at Fulham.
It's sort of like levels, yeah.
The one game of theirs I watched, he missed literally a penalty. I think it was against Everton. But he's not quite the same as he was. So he's been my
I
disappointment.
also have a different player for their most disappointing. Jean-Michel Seri. This is a player that was linked with
I was
Tottenham.
thinking about him,
He was
yeah.
linked with Chelsea. He was linked with big moves quite far and wide across Europe,
A couple of
actually.
years ago, he had a really good FIFA card as well.
For me, definitely. So he joined for 30 million, and
But he joined for 30 million when they first came back up to the Premier League 2 seasons ago.
Yeah, and
was awful in a terrible Fulham team.
exactly. And then he was loaned out to Galatasaray and pretty much flopped there as well. He's since back on the books at Fulham, but this was a world sought after midfielder,
Yeah,
and
he
he
looked
hasn't even made an appearance.
Yeah, just
He's sort of dipped into nothing.
Yeah.
And that is just 30 million wasted, and like Brewster, it's a waste
30
of
million
money.
pounds. It's a hell of a lot of
It's
money.
pennies for Chelsea and Man City,
But
Jesus, that
well,
is-
even still, they wouldn't pull
They're
the
hefty
trigger.
fees,
They wouldn't pull the trigger for that much on a player they weren't absolutely certain about. Even City and Chelsea and the United, the big boys, they're not spending 30 million on someone they're not really.
N'Golo Conte, 32 million.
I mean, perhaps a couple season difference, things change, but still in the same sort of ballpark, the same sort of player, and that's probably not completely accurate. But a midfield player, someone that was at a lesser club, you bring them in for a big transfer fee. They've gone in two separate directions.
Yeah.
So,
Just move on to Brighton, is it?
well, just real quick, I want to ask you: have there been any positives for Fulham, and what do you think has been their downside so far?
Well, I actually think they've been pretty competitive,
But, yeah,
reasonably
I
for
think
a
they're
team.
in quite a few of their games.
Yeah, well, no results really spring to mind, mainly because I didn't do any research on them.
The
So
last 5 games have been 5 straight draws. I mean,
exactly.
Yeah, well,
and you
they're
know,
always in
finding
it, no matter
form,
what.
and if they can start turning those draws into wins, just quietly, 1-1 draw with Liverpool, the champions. No mean feat.
Yeah.
That's really good.
Yeah.
they won
Decent.
they beat Leicester 2-1.
Yeah, and
Leicester's pretty much a top 4 club at the moment. So
they also drew with Spurs 1-0 and probably could have won it if they had dug deep enough.
yeah,
I can see them surviving this year.
yeah, definitely.
I'd agree, yeah.
With
They're a team that can definitely survive. I honestly think that Brighton might be a bigger possibility of going down than them, the team above them.
So I think that's actually quite a good, natural moving point. Let's
Definitely,
talk about
yeah.
Brighton real quick.
Yeah.
And before we go on to the players, Brighton are another team that have been in their games.
Yeah.
They have been in their games.
So-
Oh,
and-
yes,
The
100%.
thing about Brighton is under Graham Potter, they play some really, really nice football.
But
And
it's
at
almost too
times-
nice for Brighton.
Yeah, exactly. When you're at a team in the bottom half of the Premier League, playing nice football is not an effective way to stay up. It's what the fans maybe want to see. It's what we as outsiders, from the other clubs, we want to watch good football. We don't want to watch teams sit back and like Burnley and pray for a
Yeah,
result.
I was going to say.
Yeah, literally.
But
Burnley's
Burnley never go down.
They-
Burnley always stay up. Sean Dyche,
never backs, and we'll get onto this in a minute.
Yeah, but-
never backs, but he plays ugly football.
Yeah.
But with the lower teams, you've got to play ugly
you have to
football.
play ugly football.
As a
So you reckon
neutral,
that's Brighton's downfall, right?
as a neutral, watching them play, it's pretty good at times. But
They're also
they're
absolutely-
so open
they're
at the
absolutely
back
robbed
sometimes
against
as
United
well.
as well.
Yeah. Actually, I had that as my low point, and there aren't many
Robbed.
standout ones.
Robbed.
3-2 loss to Manchester United after playing brilliantly, and they
Completely robbed.
lost after the final whistle. VAR,
Yeah.
final whistle's gone, VAR checks, gives a penalty.
Robbed.
Robbed.
Yeah.
For the best player of the season for them, I've gone with Adam Webster. Little out of the blue. He's been really consistent this season. Look, again, another struggling side. A lot of these bottom teams, there's not going to be a lot of options for best player. That's why they are where they are. But he's been okay.
Yeah,
You say that, but I've got 3 that I've
Well,
picked.
there we go.
I really quickly, I want to hear who's your least performing, who's your most disappointing.
Most
this season?
disappointing, I've gone with. I always struggle with saying his
Is
name.
it Jahan Bash?
That's the one.
Yeah,
Most expensive player ever.
in their history.
As a forward, has only contributed
agree, yeah.
a single assist.
Yeah.
That's what I
Exactly.
had
To
there.
the halfway point of the season. Poor performances in games. Just hasn't lived up to the price tag. for me.
Yeah, I wrote record signing, just
Yeah.
shite. Just
Yeah.
shite.
Yeah,
Probably
awful,
fair.
yeah.
Scored a bicycle kick last season, New Year's Day against Chelsea. We were wearing this kit.
Yeah.
That's the best thing he's done. So you agree with that as
I
the worst
100%
player?
agree.
So
But
that's unanimous.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
is.
For-
and
for my-
it's just disappointing.
For my best, I had 3 players.
Yeah.
So Connolly up front. I think he's been very lively in most games. Provides a lot of energy, creates goal scoring opportunities.
Maybe he needs to be a little bit more clinical, but
Yes, I agree. He's very wasteful, but I think he's been really good for them. As well as
it's not
Dunk
the impact-
down back.
Yeah, Dunk is. Yeah, I had him in
Well,
my
Dunk's
top
solid
as
every
well.
year. It's in season, even especially last season, there were shouts for team of the season for him.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
so-
£50 million moves away to Chelsea, which
English
is
tax.
probably
English tax,
It's
yeah.
over the top, but he's a solid defender.
I mean, he's good. Yeah.
And
Yeah,
it's actually
exactly.
surprising because yes, they're playing great football and they actually are scoring quite a few goals compared to last season's gone by. But some of their best players are their defenders, and they're still pretty open at the back. I think they just need to solidify the playing style, and they should be fine as well. I think I would personally tip them to stay up over Fulham, but I can see it swinging either way.
By the way, yeah.
Yeah.
Who else?
My last player was I know this might be a bit controversial because he's wildly inconsistent, but I think just for sheer quality in their team, Neil Mackay.
Yeah, Neil Maupay. Yeah,
Yeah, that's
he's
the
in
one.
mine as well.
Don't tell,
I think he
don't
invented
tell
the
Arsenal fan TV about that one.
Yeah, he look. I think he's been injured a little bit. I saw him subbed off in a game, but he really does give him something. Like in the
6 goals, 1 assist for a low league team is not bad.
yeah,
So I had 3 as well. I had Dunk third, Maupay second,
yeah.
and this is just going to be the Chelsea bias here.
Oh no.
Tariq Lamptey,
Who?
they're right
Oh,
back.
come on, man.
I'm joking, bro.
I don't know, man. I don't know. Numpty over here. He's been
He's been
sensational.
very good, yeah. He's
Yeah.
been very good.
And actually I wrote in what I think they need to aim to do is they need to renew his contract. There's talks of Bayern Munich sniffing around.
Yeah,
Bayern Munich love a cheeky English player.
Bayern Munich don't mess around and they don't pick up players they don't believe in.
Exactly. They need to make sure they renew this contract.
If Bayern Munich's interested, sign him up immediately.
That's spot on.
Yeah.
I don't think he should stay at Brighton for too much longer. I think sign a new contract, commit himself maybe for a year
or two,
and
experience is a huge thing. Experience is a huge thing. Him playing at Brighton, assuming they're still in the Premier League, that's huge for him. Just continually playing.
If they go down, he'll have to leave. If they stay up, maybe stay another year, and then if Brighton cash in on him, they're going to get some serious cash.
Absolutely, yeah.
He's a phenomenal talent. He's up there in probably the top 4 right backs in the league.
I definitely agree with that. Yeah.
And I can only see big things coming from him.
As a high point for the season, I've gone with the 3-0 win over Tottenham. I mean, look, Tottenham at the start of the season competing for the title, just the most solid performance, and that's a really, really impressive win. 3-0, that's a demolition of a really, really quality outfit with 2 of the best attacking players, not in just the Premier League but the world. So yeah, there's not really much I can.
Also, a game that I watched, 2-1 against Villa at home, a very good Villa side that looks very in control. Yeah. It was one of the more solid performances of the season for Brighton, in my opinion. And Lamptey got sent off as well, very unfairly. Yeah. But they dug deep and they got a result, and they're capable of getting those results.
For me, I'm on the fence between Fulham and Brighton about who's going down. I think they both have the quality to stay up.
Well, there's still a couple more teams that could be completely in that shout, and I think we'll move on to Burnley now.
Yeah, I was going to say,
one of the ugliest football teams. Yeah.
Watching Burnley play physically hurts me as a football fan.
And as say you're watching them, Man City play them.
Well, I mean,
I know this season you won 5-0.
No, we haven't lost to them for like a long time. So
it's still painful to watch. They hold off for a while, and if you score a couple quick succession, then the floodgates open up. But I mean, if they score first, they're a dangerous outfit.
Look, it's not necessarily been like an unexpected start to the season for Burnley. Look, it's probably a little lower than a lot of people would have had them, just because they seem to somehow get results week in, week out. But look, this squad, it's borderline championship level in terms of quality and talent.
It is, but that's because Dyche is never back.
He's an excellent manager, he just does not get back. So
never gets any international players. It's Scottish, it's Irish, a bit of Welsh, and obviously the main core of English. And he doesn't get back. I know that there's talks that they're going to be sold. If they get sold, I think it's to a US consortium. It could change Burnley. It could change them from maybe mid-table to pushing for Europe again. They're capable of it.
They've done it without the backing in 17-18. They were, what was it, 6th or 7th?
So I think they came 7th.
Yeah, they were in the Europa. Well, they made the qualifying stages, but
it's
I think Burnley need a rebranding, to be honest.
Yeah, well, if
the third claret and blue team, they're by far the worst. I think. I think they're most irrelevant. No offense, Burnley fans.
Oh no!
But I think.
Let's face it. There's not going to be a single Burnley fan that ever watches this video. So.
You're not wrong. But yeah, I think a rebranding really helped them.
We love you, Burnley.
A rebranding definitely was.
Burnley can fuck off.
Who are we going for best player?
I think far and wide,
Chris Wood. I'm joking.
I don't know about that champion. Yeah. I've got Nick Pope.
Same.
Should be England's number 1. Not so good at playing out from the back, but in Burnley's team, you need to do that.
Brilliant season so far. Should be England's number 1. 6 clean sheets.
57
saves. And only 16 goals conceded in 15 appearances. That's pretty much a goal a game for a team that's in 16th. Unbelievable.
It screams ugly football.
But considering they shipped 5 to City
and 3 to Chelsea, you take those 2 results out. That's
unbelievable.
8 goals conceded.
He's got to be in team of the season consideration.
He is. He is 100% in team of the season consideration.
So with that being said, would you say for their most disappointing player wouldn't be anyone in their defence?
Oh well, I mean,
no.
I actually had Tarkowski as my second best player of the season. Okay. Pretty solid showing.
He's pretty good.
But there's no real other standouts other than that.
Really, no. It's very, very. It's always a team effort with Burnley, win or lose. It's never 1 or 2 players that you're relying on in terms of ability. So yeah,
there's a couple of shouts for
most disappointing.
Julian, Who have you got? Or have you not got anyone? Because
You know exactly what I wrote. It says here in my notes.
I don't give a shit about Burnley.
I had Charlie Taylor most disappointing because I looked at his face and it annoyed me.
Oh no!
God.
Yeah, because I don't care about Burnley, to be honest.
Fair
No
enough.
offense to Burnley fans.
I've got Jay Rodriguez myself.
Yeah, and I saw this insane stat. When he was playing at Southampton, he's played quite a lot of Premier League football. 13-14 season, 15 goals. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
And you know, no goals, no assists so far.
No goals, no assists, 13 appearances.
And it's Premier League quality maybe, but regardless, you're playing for Burnley, man. Like, you should at least get on the score sheet. I had Dwight McNeil as well, only one assist in his appearances, and he was highly sought after as well. Just quickly, there's not much that needs to be said about Burnley. I had their highlight, a 1-0 win at the Emirates,
Same,
you know.
Exactly.
Dirty football, but you beat the top 6 team.
Look, despite what your opinions are on Arsenal this season, look, beating them at the Emirates for a team like Burnley, that's a good win. That's really solid. There's a lack of options to choose from as well. So
when Tottenham get a win at the Emirates, they make a DVD. So.
Oh no!
Burnley should do the same.
Yeah. Already had a dig at Tottenham.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot. And finally, low point, 5-0 loss against City, 3-0 loss against Chelsea.
I watched the game. It's unbelievably uncompetitive from Burnley. It was like training drill stuff for City. And this is when City weren't in their best form as well.
No, it actually helped them to get out of the slump.
It was quite a bit of a dip for City at the time. It was coming into the game. A lot of City fans, including myself, were pretty worried, pretty pessimistic. This is maybe the time Burnley can get the jump on us, but easy as you like.
Anything that they need to aim for, I think.
Look, I would expect a small climb up the table personally. Look, Sean Dyche just gets
13th,
results. Yeah.
12th, 13th.
So I've got them anywhere. Actually, I've got them anywhere between 14th and 16th. That's what I predict them to finish.
I just think they're so mediocre they'll just survive.
Yeah, there's no way they go down in my opinion. But it's possible, but I just don't see it.
I put that Pope needs to be kept at all costs.
Yeah.
He's pretty much irreplaceable.
Look, they're still in the FA Cup as well, so you can make a run at that. Any team can win that cup. So if you remain consistent in the Premier League, it's a knockout competition. All you got to do is defend well and snag a goal. If you get a lucky draw, things go your way. Anything can happen. There's still a lot to play for this season for Burnley.
A little bit of camera difficulties, but we're back on track with 15th place Newcastle. Very boring side.
Typical Newcastle.
Newcastle.
It doesn't get any better under Steve Bruce, honestly.
Actually, just while you say that, I said Steve Bruce, short term was the right man.
Yep.
He doesn't have the players that he needs to play his football.
Also, he's not a great manager.
If Newcastle doesn't get sold, which it really should be, because Mike Ashley's time at the club is far and wide over.
Prick.
That's an understatement. Well, in that case, then they need to get a new manager in. I can't really think who would be a right fit for Newcastle.
I cannot believe they got rid of Rafa Benitez.
It's the stupidest thing I've ever seen.
It still baffles me to this day that they didn't back Rafa Benitez, the Champions League winning manager. You're Newcastle. Behave yourself.
Yeah, look.
The job he did at Newcastle was class.
Yeah, absolutely.
With the limited resources. I remember I was sitting in school, literally in school, when I heard the news that they were not going to renew his contract. And for those of you who don't know, majority of my family are Newcastle fans, so Newcastle is very close to my heart. And that is just one of the most shocking decisions. Like, I was completely taken aback. I don't understand what the thought process by the Newcastle board was. But, that's in the past. That he's never going to come back, and they're probably never going to have a manager of the same calibre.
Oh, unlikely, yeah.
And so they're sitting 15th. They're looking very likely to be a shout to go down.
It's possible, but Newcastle normally do enough.
The argument that you can make they have the players to stay up.
They scrap results. They get results. So it is still Steve Bruce is good enough to keep them up.
For goodness' sake, they drew with Liverpool this season.
Yeah, I mean, look, if we're talking about sort of best players for them, it's so undisputed. It's Callum Wilson. He's been unbelievable this season. It took me by surprise. One
of two players that they brought in from Bournemouth.
Yep.
Yeah.
Ryan Fraser hasn't been bad. He hasn't been fantastic.
No, he's been bad.
You reckon?
He was looking for a move to a big club a season or two ago. He pretty much refused to play for Bournemouth when it looked like they were
No,
going
he
to
didn't.
go
They
down.
cancelled his contract. Yeah.
Pathetic. From someone, I was a pretty big fan of his a couple of seasons ago. Not at all now.
Yeah.
He got a red card, cost them against Sheffield United, gave them their first 3 points. Absolutely pathetic. But on the other side of that, Callum Wilson couldn't have been any better.
What are your thoughts on Darlow for both of you?
Yes, Darlow was actually my second best player of the
That's
season.
what I thought as well.
Only
That's what I
3
was
clean
gonna say.
sheets, but he's made 67 saves, and yes, he's technically their second choice goalkeeper with Dubravka out injured. It's going to be hard to drop him now, isn't it?
It is, yes, yeah.
Well, as we said, for a team like that, they're always being taken.
Yeah, you get an opportunity to shine, like if you play
And he's fully
well.
taken it as well. He's impressed me.
Yeah.
Only thing is, he's not young. He is. I think he's 28. I could be completely wrong with that, but if they put the trust in him, they can make some money off Dubravka if they sold him. They got 2 very good goalkeepers. It's almost a shame that their defence is so shaky.
We all know how much Mike Ashley loves a bit of cash as well. So.
As in terms of their most disappointing players, I've got 2. Alain Saint-Maximin, as you pointed out before we started filming, he had COVID.
He's still
I thought when
recovering.
he's played, he's been very lively.
He's still recovering from that.
I had him in terms of quality, one of their best. They're not this season though, but he can change the game.
He is by far their most talented
Yeah,
player.
definitely.
Oh yeah.
And the other one that I had, Miguel Almiron, only 1 goal, 1 assist.
I think he's been okay.
He's not really a stat padder in any sense, but
A lot of substitute appearances as well.
picture this. Almiron can play on the wing. He 100% can. And if you had the front 3 of Wilson, Saint-Maximin and Almiron all playing and all in form, they got a lethal attack.
Yeah, obviously. But look, and for me, most disappointing, I've gone with Jolinton.
I agree.
I know that was sort of like last season's
It's a
most
given.
disappointing, but he's still £40 million.
Rolls over into
Yeah,
the
it
next
still
season,
counts. He's still terrible. He's still not good enough.
I think he scored 2 goals, got 1 assist, and for a £40 million player, that's pathetic.
Yeah, you know what my reasoning was? It was because of that shot from halfway. And that one game we watched. What are you doing?
Yeah. High Point 3-1 over Burnley. Look, Burnley's a really good defensive side. Breaking
Score
them
3
down.
against them is pretty
Yeah,
decent,
it's not
especially for
easy.
a poor attacking side like Newcastle.
I'm going to take them when you can. In terms of low point,
It's got to be the 1-0 loss to Sheffield.
Oh,
It's just pathetic at this stage.
it's not good enough.
Yes, we might see Sheffield grind a few points and it will make the loss look a little bit
better.
less.
They were the first
Bad,
team to lose
but-
to one of the worst Premier League teams we've ever seen.
And in saying that, they were the only team to lose to Derby County that year. They got 11 points. So if by some chance Sheffield break that record of being the worst team in Premier League history, we got to look at Newcastle and really question how did you lose that game.
Yeah, I can actually, in terms of like where they're going to be looking to finish, I can actually see them going as high as 13th, around there. I really can.
Quality,
They've got enough quality. And
They do tend to grind out a few
Newcastle.
results.
I don't think they'll go down.
Oh, no chance.
Oh, they
in my
sh-
opinion. I mean,
There is a chance. There is definitely a chance.
There is a chance, but I don't
But
think
they
will.
are
I'm
too
putting
big
my
to
neck
go
on the
down.
line. I say 100% chance Newcastle stay up. 100% chance. I guarantee it.
I would like to
That's
think
a
so.
massive call.
I guarantee
I
it.
am.
What are you willing to do if they go down?
I don't know. We'll think about it. We'll think about it.
Let's just
You
count
gotta,
it.
yeah,
Anything
you
you
gotta
say is
come out
bonding.
and say what you want to do.
Next podcast.
Next podcast,
Okay, yeah.
Stay tuned.
we'll figure it out. I reckon.
Should we move on or
Yeah, we should.
till
Definitely.
Something
Let's.
So the first of our 3 teams, Wolverhampton Wanderers,
Look,
Very.
sitting
what I will say,
not nicely. at all.
bitterly disappointing season from my team.
I think that's an understatement.
Well,
This
I'm
is a team that
beyond inconsolable.
definitely has potential to be in that top 6, especially with
I think-
Arsenal faltering.
I think last 2 seasons they've been in the top 7, both of them. I think it's back-to-back 7 finishes. Obviously not in the Europa League this year because Arsenal won the FA Cup, whatever. But look, it's not good enough. Honestly, look,
I 100% agree.
the injury of Raul Jimenez is more than a good excuse. It's definitely understandable as to how much of an impact losing him has had on the team. But at the same time, I almost can't describe why they've been so bad.
Well, look, Raul was so crucial to us in that all of our attack went through him.
Yeah.
He was either getting assists, he was setting other guys up, or he was scoring. Basically, we depended on him up forward.
Yeah.
And as soon as we lost him in that injury, we bought Fabio Silva, who is also my most disappointing player. We paid 35 mil for him. I know he's young, He scored once.
And it was
It was a penalty.
All I'll say in his defence is, and I'm not defending, the 35
I know he's no
million,
Raul Jimenez, but
35 million pound price tag, but he's young. Every bit of experience helps. He's clearly not.
He's never played in a top
He's
league.
clearly not really ready to play in the Premier League. But
I know, but
it's almost like if you want to throw away, if this season's sort of like a write-off already for Wolves, any experience he gets from here on out to the end of the season is an added bonus. It's going into next season where everyone can be healthy and things can come back.
it's just we had that potential to be good.
But we'll come back next season. There's not a doubt in my mind for that. While we're on the subject of disappointment, because I think it is quite a disappointing season, most of the stuff we're going to talk about Wolves is disappointing. Let's just round off the disappointing players.
Yeah. So I had Silva.
You obviously had Silva, and that's very, very warranted. I have two here that may have flown under the radar. Actually, three. So in total, that's
whole team.
No, you can make an argument.
Yeah.
Patricio.
Yep.
26 goals conceded. Obviously, not the fault doesn't lie at his own door, but only 36 saves.
Yeah, he's someone you expect to be one of the top keepers in the league.
Definitely.
Year in, year out, and
definitely.
hasn't delivered this season.
I've been bitterly disappointed with him.
Yeah.
Hasn't delivered this season.
For me, my actual worst player of the season, Traore.
Yeah, 100%. Couldn't agree more.
0 goals, 0
So
assists. Hasn't scored in over a year in Premier League.
See, I don't think he's been that bad. Especially after we lost Raul, he
hasn't
it's
been
literally
making
all of
chances.
our tech went to the wingers, and obviously we'll get to the best players, but Traore obviously isn't one of the best players. But he does try and create. I know there's a difference between trying and actually creating.
See,
but he does give us something.
I'm
But
not even making
it's not happening at the moment.
But also, when you say most disappointing, it's all relative. So perhaps he hasn't been the worst player for Wolves, but considering how good of a season he had last year,
Oh, and the hype for him as well.
relative to this season, and the price tags getting thrown at him, Barcelona wanted to bring him back, and all this sort of stuff. When you take that all into account, 0 goals, 0 assists, sitting 14th in the league, not good enough.
True.
Finally, one last player. We won't sit on it too long, but Nelson Semedo should be a top class defender.
I disagree. He's not. He just doesn't have the quality, in my opinion. Absolutely, everywhere he's gone, absolutely exposed. Terrible player.
So waste of money then.
Absolutely. I wouldn't have him at most Premier League clubs.
Yeah.
He's too prone to making a mistake on the ball.
I will agree, yeah.
He cost Wolves. What was it? The game he gave away a penalty late. I've forgotten who that was against.
Yeah, I can't remember.
Absolutely cost them.
I've seen at least 3 errors. Yeah.
Terrible defensively, and isn't giving them anything going forward. I wouldn't have him at any other Premier League club except for maybe Sheffield or one of the bottom teams. I don't know how he ever survived at Barcelona so long. Not good enough.
Before we get on to the good things, to say which admittedly aren't much for Wolves so far, I just want to touch on probably their most negative parts of the season. There's only one team that they played well against top 6 wise, and that was Chelsea.
Mm-hmm.
And that is actually my highlight of the season for them. 2-1.
Yeah.
Played pretty well, but against a very underperforming Chelsea side.
Yeah, still getting a 2-1 win over Chelsea. Anytime you beat Chelsea, it's a good performance.
Yeah.
Chelsea are never, other than 14, 15, 16, they're never like a bad side. Chelsea's always around about the mark of top 4, top 6. So,
and obviously, Jimenez's injury, I think, is another negative. And obviously, that's not really a footballing thing. That's just quite tragic. I hope that he comes back from it. I know he's doing light training at the moment.
He was just so crucial.
Yeah.
To us,
it could be devastating, but let's hope he gets back to form.
What are we saying for low point of the season?
Low point of the season, I'm saying just most things. It's hard to find a positive.
Well, mine that sticks out for me was a loss to Liverpool. I think it was it 4-0 to Liverpool?
Yeah, it was 4-0.
I mean, for a team that expects European football like Wolves,
all competitive, yeah.
I know Liverpool are one of the best teams in the world, but that was just awful. That was so bad. Looked completely out of it. Liverpool just destroyed them. Yeah, exactly.
What should be the aim for the rest of the season?
Look, they're still in the FA Cup.
I think they are in the FA Cup, so make a run at that. Look, but survival seems like they're not.
Survival's guaranteed. Survival's a guaranteed.
They are a Premier League outfit.
Top half of the table still very much on, in my opinion.
I'd say to aim for top 8 because it's a very congested.
I'll say top 10.
I'll say top 10.
Top 10.
Aim for top 10.
Top 8 redeems them though. It takes a pretty poor season to a very Wolves season, and they have the potential to do that.
But you gotta aim realistically though. So I don't know if that's realistic. There's a lot of good teams this year.
So what about best players?
Yeah, so we'll move on after the best player, and I think we're just all in agreement that Podence is by far and all.
Oh, I said Pedro Neto.
But it's pretty much those.
It's those two.
Yeah, but your opinion is pointless, despite the fact that you're wearing their badge.
I actually go for them and watch most of their games.
Yeah, I reckon you're in the bin.
Well, I had Pedro Neto simply because of how clinical he is.
4 goals, 3 assists. It's not bad. Podence 3 goals, 2 assists. If they keep them firing, they've got a good chance.
Yeah.
Okay, so moving on to 13th place, Crystal Palace. Quite unanimous, I think, between the three of us who their best player's been.
Melee Jedinak.
Anyway, Zaha, 8 goals, 2 assists.
I just wish he'd stop diving and being so dramatic.
He dives quite a bit, but
he's such a brilliant footballer.
Yeah, considering how mediocre Palace are, I think Zaha is great.
But he's so brilliant. He doesn't need to do all this acting and all this getting upset for no real reason. It takes away a little bit from how good he is, and that's really that sucks. I mean, I think he should be appreciated a lot more than he is, but it's sort of his own downfall, the way he acts on the field sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, other standout players for me, Eze's been quite good. He's been breath of fresh air.
Absolutely, yeah.
If, worst case scenario, Crystal Palace lose Zaha to a bigger team, which has to happen.
Eventually, surely.
I think with Eze, they've got a player that could really fill his boots. He's young, he's in good form. Also, Gaita. I'm very impressed with his performances. Only 3 clean sheets, but 53 saves. Not bad at all.
Yeah, you can't really judge other law keepers on clean sheets because they just don't keep them.
Exactly.
Poor players, Julian.
I had Melee Jedinak because he hasn't been picked to play.
What do you mean? He's your player of the season, bro.
No, okay, well, in all seriousness, Christian Benteke for me. Hear me out. That is only because he's nowhere near as good as he was at Aston Villa. I know he's going to revive his career a bit, but
it's a redemption arc going on here. Come on, man.
Season.
Yeah, but he's still nowhere near as good as he can be. I don't think, and that's my reason for picking him. I know he's rejuvenating his career a bit, but I think he can be better still.
I don't know if that's worthy of most disappointing player of the season.
That's in my opinion.
Okay. Alright, Fynn, who you got?
I originally said Jedinak, so
I've got Batshuayi, 10 appearances. 1 assist. He's gone to Palace, a place where he proved himself in the past, and he's being benched by Benteke.
Jeez, yeah, that's probably exactly.
And that's all I need to say about that. One of my favourite players of all time, and I'm slagging him off.
You're literally wearing
Batshuayi
on his shirt right now. So
I've got a Dharma on my shirt, so do players.
High point of the season has to be the 5-1 win over West Brom.
Also, 3-1 win at Old Trafford is up there as well.
Actually, yeah, that's probably a better shout.
That is probably,
I think I missed that one, but yeah.
They've beaten the league leaders, and, they're not very beatable side.
Low point, obviously, 7-0 loss to Liverpool.
Yeah.
Or disgraceful.
They're actually quite competitive in the first 30 minutes of that game.
They were.
They were up and about.
And the wheels really fell off the way.
And then,
to concede 7 full stop is shocking. At home, even worse.
Yeah.
The only thing that comes close to that, in my opinion, was the 3-0 loss to Aston Villa, where Villa had a player sent off. I remember we watched that and I called it. I said they're going to get a player sent off and there's a chance of coming back in.
Yeah.
And then they went to capitulate and it went even worse. So
that was a shocking performance.
They have a bad side. When they played bad, they played bad.
Really bad.
But they have the players.
I'd say around 11th. I think they're going to finish. I think they'll climb up a couple of spots.
If they could get top 10, that's fantastic.
I
don't think they will.
But I can definitely see them jumping a little bit up the table.
Yeah. Anything else to add, or should we move on?
No, I think we should move on.
Yeah, there you go.
Cool. So Leeds. Now I feel like this could be quite a mixed bag.
Up and down for sure.
Because
sometimes I'm really impressed, and other times I'm just like,
it's just Leeds. Yeah.
Everyone rates them.
I mean,
and at the same time,
I think people are coming back around though.
They play nice football, but they are so open at the back.
Yeah.
So
they're fun to watch, but
they're by far one of the most entertaining.
I think again, this is another pretty resounding agreement on their best player.
I actually disagree on resounding agreement, but the one you're thinking of, I definitely agree with.
So Bamford, 10 goals, 2 assists, proving himself in the Premier League, where he did
same amount of Premier League hat tricks as Cristiano Ronaldo.
I mean,
of course, he got that one in 6-0 win at Old Trafford against Newcastle, but
I had on Luke Ayling as well.
He's been good.
He's been okay. Another couple of players to mention. Click, he's got 3 goals, 5 assists, and Jack Harrison, 3 goals, 4 assists. So they've been solid. Yeah. They've been solid.
Being consistent.
In terms of their poor performances, Rodrigo.
Yeah. That's
Big
what I
money
had.
signing.
Huge hype.
Yeah.
Huge hype.
Look, he's someone that's very well known around, pretty much the whole world as a good player, good striker, but he hasn't delivered.
At times he's looked pretty decent, but he has no end product. I don't have the stats in front of me, so I don't know how many goals or assists he's got, but it's low.
Yeah.
Another one for me, Alioski. Pretty good in the championship, looking pretty shaky at the moment.
Yeah.
So,
seems a bit of a theme.
There isn't much else to say. In terms of their best moment this season, they beat West Brom 5-0.
Yep, that's what
that was the best defensively they've looked.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
It's especially impressive, keeping the clean sheet. Obviously, look, Leeds are going to look to score goals every game, but it's keeping the clean sheet in that one that's really impressive for me.
And also, when we were talking about West Brom, we talked about Johnson and how impressed we were.
Yeah.
He put 5 past.
Yeah.
And that's a big thing.
Yeah. 4-1 loss to Palace though.
Yeah.
Low point for me. Look, Palace 1 spot below them. You expect a really competitive game, and that's just not good enough. Look, yeah, if you're not going to hit the score sheet, then you've got to defend well, and they've just not done that. And it seems that too often when they're not scoring goals, they're also conceding too many.
Yeah. And Julian, what do you think they should aim for the rest of the season?
Right, if I was Leeds, I'd be quite content with where they are, considering they've just come up.
I can honestly see them dropping a lot more.
See, I
thought that would be a bit lower.
There are a lot of people, a couple games into the season, going, "Oh, they're going to make Europe."
I mean,
I would be stunned if they made the top 10. Genuinely, I don't think they're going to rise. I think they've got a lot higher chance of falling in the table rather than rising.
In terms to aim for, you obviously want to aim for as possible.
They are in danger.
But realistically, I'd say around where they are.
If we're saying what are they going to aim for, it's going to be top 10. But realistically, what do I predict? I think they're going to stay where they are.
I agree.
They're in danger of next season, and I said that they need to sign a couple of defenders, try and secure that defensive aspect of their game. But they're in danger of being figured out. And what they need to avoid is a Sheffield United.
Yep, definitely. All right.
Now the biggest one so far.
Here we go.
Arsenal, and
Arsenal,
I just want to start by saying I'm not as I dislike Spurs more than I like Arsenal. So everything that I'm saying is, yes, it needs to be taken with a grain of salt, but
they're not a threat, really.
They're not a threat.
They're not a threat.
That being said, I think this is a perfect time to actually just go straight into their highlight of the season: 3-1 against Chelsea.
Yeah. I mean, it was a very good win.
They surprised me that game. I thought they would have been the bin.
Yeah. I mean,
this was coming off a lot of losses.
Yeah, this was the worst they've been.
They started fantastically. Chelsea didn't get going. They missed a penalty at the end as well, as in Chelsea, and probably should have made it 3-2 and definitely had an opportunity to make it 3-0. If they had drawn that game, and that's a big if, obviously, then there's serious questions.
Well, I mean, this has been the worst start to a season in Arsenal's history in the Premier League. Not much more needs to be said other than that. Arsenal's an enormous club worldwide. This is just sitting outside the top 10 halfway into the season is unacceptable. Whether they are 4 points off Spurs, and you can make the argument that it's only a few results go their way and whatnot, but you've got to consistently put yourself in position to win games, and they just don't do that. They're always on the back foot. They're always on the back foot.
They step out on the pitch and they look beaten already.
Absolutely.
And so before we get into their players that we want to talk about, I think we're in agreement that pretty much the majority of their season has been poor.
Yeah,
and that there's no real standout.
That's by their
shots.
Yeah.
Obviously, when we were talking about Burnley, we said that Burnley's best result was a 1-0 at the Emirates, and that has to be one of Arsenal's worst results.
Yeah, especially after an own goal as well. It's a bitter pill to swallow.
Who was it that scored that own goal as well?
Aubameyang.
That brings us on to the most disappointing, I think.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Well, without a doubt, and potentially...
This is one of the best players in the Premier League, on his day.
Potentially the most disappointing player...
in the Premier League.
Full stop.
Yeah, I agree.
I actually agree with that.
Big money signing, huge bumper contract.
This is a guy who's expected to win Golden Boots for most seasons.
I think at the start of the season was joint favourite to win the Golden Boot along with Harry Kane, and one's firing, one's not,
and one's in the bin.
But Aubameyang's been poor. I want to talk about Ozil real quick. It's shocking that he's not even being played. They lack creativity. They lack
what more can
flair.
you say?
Yes, he's aging. Yes, he's not as good as he was in his Real Madrid days. Even the start of his Arsenal career.
Yeah, but he's still good enough to be playing for this.
He's not even on the bench.
Basket case.
He is not even on the bench. They start Xhaka every week, and you can't tell me that Xhaka is a better player than
different role though.
Different role, but you can make that substitution.
Yeah.
Best players I've got for me it's Tierney, and that's not to necessarily say Tierney's been phenomenal this season, but it's just in a really, really struggling team with a lot of talented players. I think he's worked hard. I think he's had a lot of good games. He's been pretty consistent for most of the year, but you could probably make an argument for a couple of other players to beat.
One of which I know that you're going to make the argument for their top goal scorer.
Lacazette.
Yeah, 8 goals.
8 goals, yeah.
Which isn't terrible.
It's actually pretty good.
Actually, when you think about how they've been...
I think his form has been underrated a little bit. I think people have overblown just how bad he's been, because he was pretty bad last year.
Yeah,
and then he started really poorly.
He's leaps and bounds above Aubameyang at this point.
At the moment, yeah, but...
another mention that is in the media a lot, Saka. I actually don't think he's been that great.
He's been okay this season.
He adds a little bit of flair. He definitely has a lot of potential, but...
He's been okay.
Yeah.
You know...
Gabriel in defence has been pretty good as well.
Yeah, you do rate him highly.
Yeah, I think he's been okay. But...
so... Lots of negatives, a couple of positives. They've found a little bit of form, and I think that they can...
I actually think they can get top 6 or 7.
Yeah, I definitely see them climbing.
So I think their aim minimum should be top 8.
Yeah.
And if they can scrap a top 6, well then they've done what they do normally.
Yeah,
you know?
that's Arsenal these days.
They've made the best of a bad situation if they do that.
Yeah.
They also
sack Arteta immediately.
Arteta out. You would take him back at City as a...
Yeah, he can come back to City. He's a great assistant coach. He's great with management of players, and under Pep Guardiola did a magnificent job. He's just not cut out to be a head coach at a top Premier League club.
He has to go, blood.
But time to go.
They need to get Aubameyang firing. If they get Aubameyang firing, I think that they could be on track for that. Top 8, top 6.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
Anyway,
it's weird to say that this team's above Arsenal. But West Ham United,
only 10th, but having a good season.
A good season. Honestly, great start to the season. This was a team that was pretty much the prime relegation candidate favourite.
I thought they would be this year.
Yeah, I honestly thought they were guaranteed to go down this season.
Spencer Owen, I think, even put him in relegation.
Everyone thought that they were going to get relegated this year. So look, top 10 halfway through the season. What more can you say?
And to add to that, and I'm going to actually start off with a negative. Their best player from last season, Mikel Antonio, he's been disappointing. And even still, they're performing well without him.
Yeah, I had him a shout for disappointing.
He sort of kept them up last year, really. So especially in the back end of the season after COVID happened.
He scored a few goals. Yeah. He hasn't really found any form this year, but give him some time, and he'll work. Now, Julian, we were talking beforehand, and you came up with one of the
smartest things I've ever said.
Well, football related at least. So their disappointing player of the season for you.
Well, is a flop, is a Diop. Thank you, Jackson. Look, I had him because he was supposed to be a wonder kid. Yeah. He's had a serious lull in appearances and at a young age. I think he's 24 now. Mate, they bought him in 2018 for 25 mil.
I think he's only made 4 appearances.
He made 4 appearances this season. That is awful. Only 1 tackle a game in defence.
This is a player that was linked with huge moves as well. Yeah. Manchester United, Chelsea, Spurs,
it's simply not good enough. Yeah, they're 25 mil in 2018.
I don't really understand.
Not even making their first team.
I don't understand how it's gone so wrong for him. You hear stories that he just trains poorly and therefore Moyes doesn't put his faith in him, but this is a young footballer who had the world at his feet, quite literally. So it is shocking.
But I was going through the stats and I saw that and I was like, I was originally going to, I don't even remember, I think I was going to do Antonio at first, and then I saw his stats, I was like, wait, I thought he was meant to be amazing. Yeah. And I was like, well, clearly the opposite, I think.
While we're on a negative note, should we talk about their low point? And there aren't many.
There's not many. There's really not many. I've got 3-0 loss to Chelsea, but it's not the most shameful performance for West Ham.
Exactly. I had the same thing. Watching that game, Chelsea probably didn't even get out of second gear, which is why it's worrying for West Ham.
It's a bit disappointing for West Ham.
But Chelsea could have hit them for 6 if they had got going properly. other than that, they play pretty well. You know, they're not the nicest team to watch, but they're not poor by any means.
They're very competitive.
And they have had quite a few good results, which leads us into their high point and
best players as well.
Yeah, what do you reckon?
4-0
4-0 Wolves. Yeah.
Wolves, although they've struggled this season, it's still
They should never
still
be
a good side.
4-0.
Yeah, 4-0 by West Ham. It's a good win for West Ham.
Just 4-0 against any team for Wolves.
So who do we think's been their best player?
Well, I think the most consistent has been Declan Rice.
There's actually quite a lot of players that you can make a shout for. Cresswell as well, quietly having a good season. Jared Bowen, he's been pretty decent. But my player of the season so far, Thomas Suchet.
I've got to agree with you.
He's very good. They need to make sure they keep him for a while because he has quite a lot of talent. He's really lifted them from relegation candidates to can they make a push for that top 10 and stay there?
Yeah. Well, there you go.
So what do we think? I'm thinking there's no higher than 8th for West Ham this year.
Listen, 8th is a fantastic season.
I'd also say no lower than 13th this season.
Absolutely,
that's a floor. That's the ceiling.
They should aim to rise. They shouldn't aim to
push for the top 8 or the
aim to fall.
Okay, so
let's move on to
the probably the most interesting one of the video. Chelsea Football Club. So sitting in 9th position currently after starting the season as relative title favourites. It's been quite the drop in form.
Oh yes, I happen to agree.
Should we start negative and move our way up to positive?
I'm okay. Yeah, I'm going to throw out negative. I'm going to throw out the player I genuinely do not rate one little bit.
There we go.
And I think you both know who it is.
Timo Werner.
That's it.
Timo Werner is. He's
for lack of a better term, he's a bumble. It's what I describe.
He's had a poor start, and I think
4 goals, 4 assists. He's not bad.
He's not clinical enough.
I 100% agree. That's the word I was going to use.
Confidence.
But he lacks the killer instinct to poach goals on a consistent basis.
He was killing it in the Bundesliga.
But
that's why he's signed.
He was killing it with a vast he needed a lot of opportunities to get his goals, and in the Bundesliga, the defence it's a lot more open. There's a lot more opportunities. He was always a player that really needs a lot of opportunities to score a lot of goals. But now he's getting the opportunities and not scoring the goals as well. So it's a double-edged sword. It's not good. But I still think that
I think he'll succeed in the long term, and that's obviously I know that you don't agree with that in any way, shape, or form. But you wrote him off.
I wrote him off very quickly,
he
only proved me right. To be fair,
he's not even my most disappointing player of the season. That's actually Kai Havertz, the more expensive player, and I think actually
72 million, but also I don't think he has a ceiling on his potential. So he needs to get this season over and done with, and next season, it's a fresh start. He has potential to be one of the world's best players. He's 21 years old. When you move for a price tag of 72 million, you become a record signing at one of the biggest clubs in football. How are you supposed to? It's very hard to prove yourself,
I understand that.
But disappointing. He needs a little bit more confidence and just move on from there. While we're again on the negatives, we already talked about it, so we won't talk about it too much. 3-1 against Arsenal.
Not good.
Terrible first half performance. They've actually had quite a few poor performances. The two that I want to touch on really quickly, both 3-3 draws. Southampton, far and wide the best team, should have been 4-1 up and then out of nowhere let it slip. I think that was shocking. And then the first half performance against West Brom, yes, we showed character in the second half, but we should never be 3-0 down at all. 3-1 against City, didn't play well. Had a couple of glimmers of hope, but nothing too major.
No,
exactly.
Completely played off the park.
And also, our 2 goalless draws against Tottenham and Manchester United didn't get going. Didn't look like conceding at all, but they were 2 of the worst performances of the season.
For best players of the season, I've gone with Kurt Zouma. I think he's been really solid in defence.
4 goals.
4 goals himself, 6 clean sheets in 15 appearances.
Joint second top goal scorer for Chelsea, and
that's not good. But look, Reece James has been good as well. Thiago Silva, despite dropping off a little bit recently, same with Mendy. I think they both started well. A bit of a lull at the moment, but
I think Silva's had a bigger impact on Chelsea than Mendy has. Mendy hasn't even made that many saves. I don't agree with the hype that he was given. He's an upgrade. but not by much.
Not difficult to upgrade.
For me, for most valuable for them, I had money, because that's literally like all it is, splash the cash. But if I'm being serious, I had like Tammy Abraham.
Yeah, I
He's
think
been very solid.
6 goals, 1 assist, and he's only started half of the games that he's played in.
Yeah,
that's phenomenal. I think give Werner a bit of a rest, let him work on the training ground, and start Tammy.
So what do you think your high points are?
4-0 against Palace,
Yeah,
100%. 3-0 against West Ham. Like I said, didn't get going really.
Yeah.
They were only in second gear, and they made it easy against a team that tends to be a bit of a bogey side for them.
Yeah.
I don't really want to stay on Chelsea too much, but top 4 is the aim.
I actually think that Chelsea are going to finish 4th this year.
I do believe
I genuinely think
they've got a better team than Spurs. Leicester can't really sustain it. If they, they probably could, and we'll get back onto that later. But
no, I don't think so. Yeah,
they need to aim for that 4th place. That 4th place is Chelsea's.
I think the top 3 are pretty much locked in, and I think there's one spot left for Champions League football, and I think Chelsea are going to get it.
Yeah. They also just quietly, they're not going to win the Premier League obviously this season. The aim is for that to be next season. We need to try and push for that. But this year we're still in the FA Cup. We got a very safe 4th round. If we win that, very safe 5th round. And if by some miracle we get a result against Atletico Madrid, maybe aim for that Champions League, give it a push.
Anyone can win that competition.
Anyone can win it. Moving on to 8th place, Aston Villa.
Oh yeah.
What a start to the season for them.
One of the teams of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. They're in the race for European football.
Absolutely.
2 games in hand, keep in mind.
Absolutely. And they have one of the most exciting and one of the best
players in the Premier League.
In
Jack Grealish.
Yeah.
Who I think is all 3 of our player of the season.
Yeah, but I also had a shout for Martinez.
Yeah, Martinez has been pretty good. 8 clean sheets.
Tyrone Mings has been excellent.
Mings has been fantastic. And Ollie Watkins, 6 goals, 2 assists. That's not bad at all.
18. And Jack Grealish, though, he's been simply sensational this season.
It almost holds him back that he's a Villa boy through and through.
Can I just throw this one out there as well?
No. Yes, go on.
Alright, man, I'm running.
Jokes.
Courtney Horse.
Moving on.
Most disappointing.
Okay,
genuinely, I couldn't find someone that was
overwhelmingly a positive season.
Yeah.
So for that reason, you guys are going to just absolutely shit on me. I put Marvellous Nakamba, right?
As the disappointing player.
As a disappointing, because his name suggests he'll be good, but he's only made 4 appearances. So we've been absolutely bamboozled and led astray. So
I've gone with Wesley, yet to make an appearance, injuries, lack of form. He's been sitting on the bench.
Especially when you consider Watkins came in to literally replace their record signing, and Watkins has hit the ground running. He's a very good footballer.
Yep.
And he's not only benched Wesley, he's put him out of contention.
Yeah. High point? No.
High point.
Absolute demolition of Liverpool.
Yeah.
7-2.
7-2.
Not only is that a high point of the season, that's probably the result of the season, and goes down as one of the biggest shocks in Premier League history.
Yeah.
The same night that Manchester United lost 6-1 to Tottenham, and I remember how we watched that game, and then we went to bed, and then I woke up and said that, Aston Villa have just won 7-2, and you didn't believe it.
I couldn't believe it. I genuinely didn't
when
believe
I first saw that result, I knew that Aston Villa were like here. You know what I mean? They're here to stay. I reckon. They've got such a bright future, so many good young players as well. They're competing now, and I thought they'll compete in the next few years as well.
So what do you got for low point?
3-0 against Leeds.
Yeah, definitely. Inability to capitalise on what is a vulnerable defence.
Yeah. Didn't really get going.
Yeah, that's a winnable game, realistically.
Yep. Especially when you concede that Leeds are so open at the back.
A game that you got an opportunity to score goals. You've got to put a few past Leeds, I think.
Top 10 should be the aim regardless, I think. And whatever they do from this point on, unless they drop out of the top 10 miraculously, it's a good season.
My prediction would be to finish anywhere between 8th to 10th. However, I think they should be pushing for top 7. Honestly.
They could sneak into a Europa League.
They really could push through Europa League. That's what they should be aiming for.
It's just whether or not they can keep this going for the rest of the season.
It is difficult to sustain this sort of level of play. So
well
done, Aston Villa.
Yeah. So Southampton is another team that's
pretty much almost like identical in terms of how much they've impressed me. Awesome so far.
There's 3 main players I want to talk about. I'll start with the one that's probably most surprising, McCarthy in goal. I think he's been very good. He's got 7 clean sheets. definitely in contention for goalkeeper of the season so far.
Yep.
Vestergaard at centre back.
He was mine.
Vestergaard is my player of the season. Unbelievable.
He's transformed the defence.
Yeah,
he's transformed the whole side.
Fantastic.
His work rate's unreal.
He's also chipped in with the goals, 3 goals, which for a defender is brilliant. It's no Kurt Zuma, but
yeah.
Calm down.
Also, Southampton's like Chelsea, 2 spots above.
Get done.
and Danny Ings as well.
Danny Ings, given.
What can you say?
He's
You know,
baller.
you come to expect it. Should be playing for England at the Euros.
Definitely.
You have to ask yourself who's going to make way. But you know, we'll get to that. But Ings has to be there.
Yep.
Off the bench, he's clinical. You know, starting, he's clinical. 7 goals, 3 assists. He's a fantastic player.
Yeah.
And I think the form of, Ings moves perfectly into the most disappointing player.
Shane Long. 10 appearances, no
0
goals.
no assists.
Enough said.
Or maybe 1 assist. No,
I mean,
no goal.
In fairness to Shane Long, Southampton have been so quality recently. Like,
most of them are.
he's on the outside looking in to that squad.
Yeah.
I think.
With Ings performing so well,
Yeah.
you have no chance.
It's going to be tough.
It's just this is a player that we have seen perform in the past, and it's just been really disappointing. Other than that,
I've been thoroughly impressed by Southampton.
I'm scared to play.
Yeah, they're a good side.
Like
I think they're for real as well.
When City beat them 1-0, it was a gritty win. It was a good win. It was a really impressive win, and despite no goals from them, a really impressive performance from Southampton. And that's not even them at their best either.
Listen, I slagged them off for the 3-3 draw. I said that was disappointing for Chelsea. The fight that they showed after going 3-1 down was unbelievable.
Yeah.
They left it late. They got a result at a hard place to go and win.
Yeah.
A draw is a fantastic result. They're outperforming Chelsea. They're outperforming Arsenal. European football is the aim.
Yep.
Europa League. They could do it.
I've got them finishing anywhere between 7th and 9th.
7th and 9th. That's probably the realistic one. Even if they say drop to 10th, it's still a good season.
Yeah.
So also. While we're on positives, 1-0 against Liverpool is probably their performance of the season.
Anytime you beat Liverpool, one of the best teams in the world, keep in mind, it's impressive.
Not to mention, I think Liverpool only managed 1 shot on target, and that was a very pitiful shot.
Yeah.
And it was very late on.
A beyond solid performance from Southampton.
Yes, they played defensive, but they played defensive and they got it right, and that is one of the results of the season. You saw Hassan Hutel at full time on the ground, literally in tears. That's how much it means to him.
A huge turnaround from what was it, a 9-1?
9-0
against Leicester last season.
And you know what? Southampton were completely right to trust him.
Yeah.
That's a shock result, yes, but it's a complete fluke.
Stuck by him.
And they've stuck by him, and he is proving himself week in, week out.
That's pretty much.
Yeah, in terms of negatives though, 3-2 loss to United. They were 2-0 up and cruising.
Yeah.
But then again, you got to take it into account. This is new, United. But probably the glaring one, 5-2
Tottenham.
Heung-min Son 4 gols.
Yeah.
Stat padding almost against them, but that was the best Spurs have played all season in my opinion. They were just
too good.
Ruthless.
Yeah.
So it's not that bad of a result.
Yeah, that's the only sore point for me, other from a great season.
Yeah, listen, we named 3 players as well that have performed brilliantly, but I just want to say Walker Peters at right back, he's been fantastic.
Yeah, I forgot to say Walker
Shea
Peters.
Adams as well, quietly. Obviously again he's on the outside looking in, but when he plays he looks decent. And Ward-Prowse as well. So
Ward-Prowse, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and I think that's a good time to move into the top 6.
Top 6, yeah. Starting with Tottenham in 6th position. A little disappointing considering how well they started the season. Them and Chelsea, the title favourites very early on, which can always be a bit deceiving, a bit deceptive. But look, it's sort of fallen apart a little bit under Mourinho. Look,
they rely heavily on 2 players.
He's the sort of manager that doesn't play necessarily good football. He normally is able to get results, but
he's also struggling in recent times.
Yeah,
to get those results.
when you go 1-0 up, that's not enough to just close out a game. Teams can score at any point in time, any set piece, any long ball over the top. I think they've gone into their shell a little bit.
It's the Kane and Son show for Tottenham.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, absolutely. They're so reliant on these 2 players to carry them.
Harry Kane, 11 goals, 11 assists, probably the player of the season so far.
I'd say so, yeah.
Son, 12 goals, 5 assists, and then after that, Ndombele, who's probably been there.
Højbjerg's been pretty good.
Højbjerg's been
pretty
decent.
good, yeah.
Ndombele is their third top goal scorer. 2 goals, 1 assist.
Sensible.
You know, if Kane gets injured,
no sort of consistency over the board, like over the team sheet. It's all on these 2 guys to get the goals.
If Kane gets injured, they're fucked. And
yeah,
you know, obviously as an England fan, I hope he doesn't, because I need him to perform at the Euros. But they're lost without them. And
yeah,
I mean, top 4 should be their aim. I think that's undoubtedly. Will they get it? I don't know.
I don't think so.
I doubt it.
It's a boring brand of football. I've put here.
It's still up for grabs though. The 4th spot is still up for grabs for a team like Spurs.
I know that they're in the Carabao Cup, and if they win that, then that's brilliant. That's their best season in the last 10 years. I know I'm taking the piss a bit there, but I'm going to make an outrageous call. They will never win a trophy under Mourinho.
Wow.
It's their best chance to win a trophy. They're not going to win one under Mourinho. They're going to lose the Carabao Cup final, and from there...
4-peat coming up.
Obviously, really quickly, 2 players that have just been pretty poor for me. Lucas Moura, he's just been shit, but you know he's not a great player anyway.
And Dele Alli.
Dele Alli is probably the standout.
Well, very lack of appearances for Dele Alli.
I think
He's completely lost the manager's trust.
And this is a player that was literally seen as the next best thing for England, not just Tottenham, England.
Yeah,
I had one coming out of left field of the most disappointing.
Okay.
Eric Lamela.
Yeah,
as an attacking midfielder, he was very solid in the last couple of years. As an attacking midfielder, 7 appearances, not a single assist or goal. I don't think that's good enough.
That's probably fair.
Especially in an attacking team like Spurs. Yeah. I know all the attack goes through Son and Kane, but like it starts in the midfield. So
I suppose.
Lots of pause really, but you know the 2 resounding positives.
Well, obviously the 6-1
against United
at Old Trafford.
Ruthless.
Yeah,
really good.
Stunning.
Also, I forgot to add the 5-2 against Southampton as one of their positives because they really played very well. Yeah. 2-0 against City.
That one was
because
that
on
was
paper there is no way you should have lost that.
That was just a pathetic.
That's what we call classic Mourinho. That's when Mourinho gets it right and
just absolute counter-attacking.
And
hit us on the counter twice.
And it is quite amazing to see when he does that sort of thing, but he doesn't do it enough. And for me, top 4 should be the aim. Top 6 is where they go.
I think 5th or 6th for me.
5th or 6th. Yeah. Right, moving on to Everton now, and I just want to talk really quickly about a player that has come in and I think has actually proven himself again. James Rodriguez.
Agreed.
Yeah. You know, if you're a stat man, he's not the most prolific, 3 goals, 3 assists, but the way that he's changed Everton is a huge part of the reason. I'm not sleeping on Ancelotti, by the way. Why they are where they are in the table.
He's just a classy footballer.
He is. I think he just brings the confidence to the rest of the team.
But I mean, hats off to Ancelotti for what he's done. The results he's getting out of it. I mean, look, they are 1 point off of Liverpool in 2nd.
Yeah.
It's almost halfway into the season. That's unbelievable.
Yeah. They're
I
scary
don't think they're getting the credit they deserve this season. You know, they've had a bit of a lull here and there, but like every team this season has had like a drop in form, a bit of a rocky patch. Like they're almost in contention for the title at the moment. I mean, no one really thinks they're going to win it, but
except for someone who put money on them.
Hey, it's going to happen. Trust me.
They thoroughly impressed me.
They have, and you know what? I know that this would sound stupid if you said this at the start of the season, but I think you can say it now. If they don't get Europa League even, fans might get a bit upset about that because they deserve it. While we're on positives, Calvert-Lewin.
11 goals already, you know.
Yeah, we talked about Ings needing to be in the England lineup.
Absolutely.
You've already said my 2.
You've got to have Calvert-Lewin. And Lucas Digne.
He's been really nice.
He's been very good. Good shout for the left back of the season.
He's pretty good.
Solid. You know, he's proved himself before. So you know, he's in some good form. They're never going to get a better better manager than Ancelotti in my opinion. They need to make sure they hold on to him for a while. And I know he's come out and said that he wants to retire soonish. Make Everton his last stop. Because he could do something really special there that people have failed to do in our lifetimes.
I think he's all in now with Everton.
Look, it seemed like a shock signing. But he's proving himself. And they could go do some serious stuff this year.
Yeah. Moving on to a more sour note for Everton, most disappointing, Richarlison.
Definitely.
Someone with a lot of hype and a big price tag in the off-season.
£80 million moves to Barcelona were on the talks. Obviously,
no goals.
They didn't sign him or anything.
Mm.
But then again, it's not saying much because a couple of seasons ago, Willian was linked with an £80 million move to Barcelona. But at the same time, he's a young player. He's a Brazilian player.
Yeah.
He's probably only going to get better.
That's what I was thinking.
But he needs to start proving himself.
He needs to start playing well. As simple as that, really.
People hype him up a lot.
Yeah.
But I don't think he's ever been spectacular.
He's been good.
He
certainly hasn't.
But he hasn't set the storm, the league on storm.
On that note,
there we go.
On that note, my other one for disappointing was Pickford, I think.
Yeah, but we've come to know that in recent years. He
was meant to be one of the best goalkeepers.
He peaked when he saved a couple of penalties in the World Cup 2018.
Yeah. Well, he's gone from like English goalkeeper to a. I know Everton are good, so their defence is never. I know it is under pressure sometimes, but not consistently. And I don't think Pickford has been amazing in those situations.
He lacks confidence.
Definitely.
When he has the ball at his feet, I'm worried he's going to make a mistake.
Yeah. High and low points.
Well, let's do the low point pretty quickly. They played 3 games in a row, which they lost 3 games in a row. And when you consider how good their start was, if you take this little blip out, they're at the top of the table.
Yeah.
2-0 against Southampton, which at the time was like a bit of a shock, but Southampton are playing well.
Yeah.
They're a hard team to beat. The one that stands out in this run is the 2-1 against Newcastle.
Yeah, that's the one.
Because you shouldn't be losing to Newcastle if you're aiming for Europe.
Even a top 4 spot.
Top 4 spot. This is a team you just said could challenge for the title if they get things right. So, and then 3-1 against Manchester United. They looked lethargic. They didn't get going. Listen, James has been injured recently.
Yeah.
And they need to make sure he's nurtured back to fitness.
Yeah.
I only see good things, and I don't have any real pinpoints for moment of the season.
Well, for me, it's
just their start.
It's 3 straight wins against Chelsea, Leicester, and Arsenal for me. That's a very, very impressive set of 3 games. That's sort of the polar opposite of what we just talked about for the bad run of form. They're so unpredictable. Everton. You don't know what you're going to get from them sometimes.
And they have been that way for years, unpredictable, but maybe even more so at the moment.
Yeah. So what do we think? I'm thinking. I've got them as low as 6th or 7th. That's where I think they're going to finish.
Yeah, you can't see them sustaining it. They don't have the squad depth that the likes of Chelsea and Spurs do.
Yeah.
I think they might
make
hold.
Europe fantastic season.
I think
they might hold 5th. To be honest,
that's not a bad.
You can see them finishing anywhere. Really.
Yeah, top 4 still on the cards. It's not likely.
It's a really tight league at the moment.
Yeah. Look if they
go on a bad run, say the next couple of games, lose them all. They're down in 9th place. They're down in 10th place, and we're then sitting here establishing can they get back up to where they were?
Yeah.
That's the thing. They need to offer a new contract to Ancelotti. They need to be very aware that if a better offer comes in, and it probably will for him, he's the type of manager that's not just going to stick around.
Chelsea could probably use someone like him.
They could, but
again.
Unfortunately, I don't think that will ever happen again.
Yeah.
Leicester.
4th spot. Year in, year out, this team defies the odds every single season.
Quietly, Brendan Rodgers is by far in the top 4 managers in the league.
Yeah.
I think we touched on Ancelotti, and then obviously the top 2, Pep and Klopp. But what he's doing at Leicester, you take away their title-winning season, they've never looked brilliant.
Man, I think
they are a dangerous team.
I think most of their positions are very solid.
I can't really name you a poor player.
I can actually.
Okay, go on then.
This is a bit like it hasn't been awful, but I think they've expected a bit more from him this year. I had Iheanacho. Coming out of Man City, he was supposed to be.
It was a few years. He sort of let us down.
He actually had an okay season at Leicester as well.
Yeah.
Well, I know, but. I think they paid like 15 mil for him from Man City.
Look, he was expected to do more than he has.
Yeah. But Leicester have been so good, it's not really.
See, for me, most disappointing. I actually got Chowdhury.
Yeah, he's linked with a move away.
I think just not good enough.
He actually looks very solid last season.
Yeah, I really liked him last season.
And okay, so I've actually gone for a different one. maybe Leicester's player of the season, bar the obvious two, Maddison and Vardy for last season, Soyuncu. And I say that purely based on the fact that he replaced Harry Maguire, and the English media hyped him up so much, and it was warranted. It wasn't just like English tax. He's not English. And they've signed Fofana, 19-year-old.
Fofana, I rate.
Yeah,
highly.
They signed him as backup
very impressive against Wolves,
and he's actually he's proving to be Premier League quality. He's fantastic, and he's in my top 3 alongside Vardy with 11 goals, 5 assists. Another fantastic season.
Fofana against Wolves,
and Maddison.
He was leaps and bounds, so much but higher quality than
he's
he was absolutely destroying our attack. He's so pacey as well for a centre back.
He's going to be huge, and
his counter attack, he would do it by himself. He would dribble straight out of defence. He's going to be amazing.
So in saying that, we've just named 3 players that not necessarily are underperforming. Maybe in that show, but he's not been a huge player in the future. He's not been a big player in the past anyway. So it's not like he's letting anyone down. High point, Jackson.
5-2 winning at City. Look, that was...
It was an embarrassment for City.
It was. Really. The only thing I could possibly say is the 2 centre-backs that day were Nathan Ake and Eric Garcia.
Garcia on his way out of the club.
I
fourth
believe, I might be wrong, was Mendy playing that day? I don't think he was, but if he was, that's another one I'm not a huge fan of. But yeah, look, Kyle Walker, despite me being quite a big fan of his, was in a weird mood that day, and it just left the gates open for goals.
Yeah, just them being in 3rd, 4th place, fantastic. The aim again has to be European football. Yeah. I think if you reach for the stars, top 4.
Yeah, I think it's possible, but
this is Leicester we're talking about. If they get top 4 or say top 6, let's say top 6.
I think they're 5th or 6th. Yeah.
Because they have the talent, they sure do.
Yeah,
they really do.
If they get that top 6, they can move with that on for the next season.
I mean, it's becoming consistent now.
It is, because they are a solid team, and they can't lose Rodgers. Yeah. And Rodgers could be managing a top side, and that's not to say Leicester aren't one. They're becoming one.
Yeah,
they are definitely cementing themselves as Premier League quality. Full stop. End of conversation. One thing I do want to touch on though is they have potential to win the Europa League, and if that means that they have to sacrifice a couple. No, they went through in the Champions League.
Oh well, it's on. It's on. If Sevilla's not there, anyone can win it.
If they have to sacrifice a couple of places to win that Europa League,
it's probably not the worst thing.
That's their second greatest achievement. In football.
Yeah.
And that's Champions League football for next season. Yeah. It's worth the risk in my opinion, because even if they let it slip in say the semi-final or something, and then finish 5th and get Europa League next season, it's a brilliant season.
Yeah.
This is Leicester.
In terms of a low point, I've gone with the 3-0 loss to West Ham.
Yeah.
That's just unacceptable for
you just shouldn't lose to West Ham like that. Yes, having a good season,
but
this West Ham.
Yeah, that's really disappointing. Yeah, look, they're going to be aiming for top 4.
Yeah. One more disappointment. 3-0 Liverpool. Now, in saying that, it's Liverpool.
Yeah, but
they didn't show up. I'm pretty sure they had the chance to go top or joint top of the league if they had won that game.
For a game that
they just didn't show up.
They need to be more competitive in the game now.
If they had proved themselves then and there, they're even in the question for title favourites. I can't see them, or not favourites, in the conversation.
In the race,
I can't see them doing that. They're in the race for Champions League football, but anything European like is very good. Top 3.
Manchester City in 3rd at the moment, although game in hand, if they win that, will be 1 point off United and 2 ahead of Liverpool. So, and then obviously United and Liverpool have a game coming up.
Quite obviously in the race for the title.
In my opinion, favourites.
I've written here, win the title, anything else is failure, assuming City do not win the Champions League. Yeah. That may be like, we're not going to win the Champions League. You're like, I know that. I mean, anything's possible. So, look, if we don't win the title, I will be extremely upset. Look, we started a little poorly. We've sort of figured out a really, really solid defensive partnership in John Stones and Ruben Diaz, who have both been superb. I love both of them so much.
So that brings us on to the strongest players, right?
Best player so far.
Diaz.
Look,
De Bruyne.
I would love to say Diaz. He's definitely second, but De Bruyne has been the best midfielder in the world since like 2017, 2018. I'm not backing
3
down.
goals,
that.
9 assists so far.
But it's just his play, the way he plays the game. He's untouchable.
He has an eye for a fucking long ball.
Yeah.
You know, he's class.
He's like levels above everyone else on the pitch.
Okay, yeah, I'd agree with that. He's great, but
Quietly, Cancelo.
that was the next
unbelievable.
one. Yeah.
Cancelo. Look, people like say we got him for 60 million, but they took Danilo off of our hands for like 30 million. So realistically, Cancelo for about 30 odd million is a good deal. Look, he's a world class right back. I said a little while ago, look, at his absolute best, he's one of the best right backs in the world, unquestionably. And he's starting to play like that. A lot of big chances created from him. If certain players learn how to finish, he'd probably have a lot more assists as well. But look, we're figuring out how to grind out results. You know, a lot of 1-0 wins this year. With Stones and Diaz, I think it's like 1 or 2 goals conceded, like 8 wins, 1 draw. It's unbelievable.
Mate, the thing I find most impressive about City is their depth.
Yeah,
Like Laporte, world class.
Yeah.
On the bench.
yeah, like it's more than a luxury. The fact we've got just class players.
You know,
sitting on the bench.
talking about your centre back defensive depth, that leads me on to the most disappointing player, Nathan Ake, former Chelsea youth player. 40 million.
He's been disappointing.
And
he really, really has.
Look, he was very good at Bournemouth.
He was good at Bournemouth.
And
he's been a very big letdown at City.
When you consider the money and the fact that, you know, Diaz is outperforming him,
Yeah.
yes, he costs more, but, you know, without the experience in the Prem, and also John Stones coming back to form, and Laporte is on the bench.
He's coming back from an injury, Laporte, but still, you know, on the bench. Look, Ake, when he does get the opportunity to play, has not impressed me whatsoever this season. Look, he's been up and down, but definitely probably I just...
Well, on that note, in defence, I had the most disappointing for you guys was Benjamin Mendy.
Yeah, but he's just been disappointing.
He's been disappointing for a long time.
I know though he can play a lot better than he has.
Can he though?
Yeah, I think he does. I think he can.
He's a bit like Nelson Tomato. You question whether or not he has any talent.
Well, obviously they see something in him, I think.
I don't know.
I think he could play better.
That's the worst signing.
He's a naturally gifted player, I think, Mendy, but I don't ever see him reaching those sorts of goals.
Well, yeah, but disappointing Benjamin Mendy for me.
Absolutely.
I've been personally, and this is going to hurt you, and you know this is going to hurt you, I've been disappointed with Bernardo Silva. He is nowhere near his 18-19 form. He's found a little bit more form now.
Disagree heavily. Bernardo Silva has been coming back into form in recent weeks. On the weekend against Brighton, I don't know, maybe it wasn't the weekend.
What have you done?
He was awesome. He's a workhorse. Bernardo Silva, baller. He's coming back. He'll be back.
I would prefer to start Danny Drinkwater in my team over Bernardo Silva.
This is what I have to deal with. This is what I have to deal with. This man is sitting in 9th position, and the audacity of some of the things he says.
Okay, but you've got to look at the things that Danny Drinkwater brings to the table. Aggression. Did you see the way...
Let's not talk about Danny. Let's not talk about Danny Drinkwater.
Did you see the way he literally...
We get your
killed.
Stop.
We get your point. Let's talk about Man City.
Well, what about Gundogan? What a season. What a player.
He's finding his way, you know.
Yeah.
Very, very underrated during his time.
Very underrated player. You know, maybe he hasn't performed as well as he should have in the past seasons. This season, quietly, a very solid season.
I'm a big fan of Gundogan.
He looked like a very good signing when he came in. Had a good start.
Yeah.
Sort of trickled away, but you know
he's always been consistently in the team through 2 Premier League titles. You know.
Yeah. So let's talk again a little bit more negatively then. 2-0 loss to Spurs and 5-2 loss to Leicester.
Yeah, they were not fun to watch. But I watched both those games, and look, it was especially that Spurs game was really just
how you didn't score.
I mean, there was one goal that was ruled like a handball. It hit like Jesus there. It was a bit. What can you do? Look, we just got hit in the counter by a brilliant Sun goal, and then I forgot who I scored in the second half. But it happens. We're not perfect or anything, but
and in terms of your performance of the season,
I actually had the 3-1 versus Chelsea. It was a like we are back moment. You know, it was. This partnership, like Stones and Diaz, this midfield, the way we just passed the ball, we ran rings around the Chelsea side.
I thought that game was comprehensive.
Yeah, it was genuinely. We played.
Apart from that, was that Hudson-Odoi goal? Was it Hudson-Odoi?
Yeah, great cross from Havertz. Really good goal, actually. But
they
scoring it, that's the definition.
Also, like Zinchenko tax. I love him, but like you know.
Yeah.
Respect.
Anything else you want to add to Man City? Anything other than title? Like
title or Champions League, one of them or both of them has to happen this year. So it's a bitterly disappointing season.
Like, you're going to win the Carabao Cup. There's no way you lose to Spurs again. Surely not. I beg you don't.
Look,
I bet.
sort of winning 4 League Cups in a row. It's not like the most amazing thing, but it's still pretty impressive. You know, it's the domestic dominance. Yeah, that's pretty much all I've got to
Should
say.
we move on to the
moving on.
champions?
The former champions,
Well,
the current holders of the Premier League title, Liverpool. As much as that hurts me to say, they've been.
disappointing compared to last season.
But again, it's like most teams who win the title. It's very hard to relive those same heights. You know, you can't be that good for that long.
At the same time, though, I think they've been great. If I'm being honest.
I wouldn't go as far as to say great,
No,
but they've been a good side.
Yeah.
They're really struggling with the injury of Van Dijk, as any team with a player that good would.
Gomez hasn't stepped up.
On that, he's one most disappointing.
Yeah, I
Gomez.
100% agree.
Yeah.
He's the most overrated centre back.
He has not kept a single
That's the
clean
English
sheet.
tax again.
Yeah.
You know?
Think about that. This is Liverpool. He hasn't kept a single clean sheet in any of his appearances.
Yeah.
That is just.
Although they've been partnering him with that Phillips bloke, who I think is 23. Exactly. I think he's 23.
I don't care.
He's not great. He's pretty poor.
I saw a lot of things with as Joe coming to the season. Joe Gomez is a top 5 centre back in the league. Couldn't be further from the truth.
They've had another couple of pretty disappointing players. I'm going to say one that's not so disappointing. I know you disagree with me, not heavily, but a little bit. Naby Keita. You know, he's only played 7 times. He's
someone who struggles to get on the park on a consistent basis.
He hasn't looked fantastic. He's had glimmers in his Liverpool career, but he hasn't looked fantastic.
He's the one transfer for Liverpool they'd go, damn, we didn't quite nail that one.
Yeah. Now, also, this is where we changed it, because originally I had the idea that we were going to do the worst player. Liverpool changes this to disappointing player completely. We changed our whole idea to disappointing player based on this one single player. Trent Alexander-Arnold.
Yeah, he's been.
Obviously is hyped up massively. He's a great attacking fullback, but he's only got 2 assists this season. He's looked extremely shaky at times in defence, and he's nowhere near the 144 million.
He's looked a liability. He's looked a liability.
Again, you could probably argue it's without Van Dijk, he looks poor.
Yeah.
And it makes you worry if, say, he made a big money move away without Van Dijk. How's he going to cope?
Yeah.
In saying that, he's a Liverpool boy through and through. I don't see him leaving. But, you know, if Van Dijk doesn't come back from this injury, you know, there could be question marks about that entire back line, and they go from being the best
I'd say the only one, and moving on to a more like positive note in terms of their best players this season, the one player in the defence who I think's solid without Van Dijk is Andy Robertson. I think he's been excellent this season.
And for those of you who don't, you've changed the tune.
Well, it's just
you call him an absolute cunt.
He was, and he still can be, but
you were so anti-Robertson.
No, I don't like him as a person. I rate him as a player though.
He's class.
Much more than Trent.
Alright, but what about Salah though?
He's been the best player. I think
he's been the best.
Listen, I got the stats right here. 13 goals, 3 assists. He's never really been an assist merchant.
Yeah.
He's
one of the best players to play in the Premier League ever.
Yeah,
simple as that.
Hurts me to say that, but 100%.
Yeah.
I had Joel Matip as well, just because he's from Cameroon. And I love Cameroonians. So.
We're going to have to skip over that part. Moving on.
Mane, quietly, not the best season.
Not his best season, but still good.
6 goals, 2 assists. And Diego Jota.
He had a great start.
Excellent start.
That hurts me a little bit. That does hurt me.
But he looked at that as he gets, but
only 5 goals, and considering how good he started, it's like
he didn't play a whole lot though. Like it was kind of like a flash in the pan.
He's a great replacement player. You know?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. He's better than Minamino. He's better than Shaqiri.
Yeah.
You know, he could start up top of Firmino, but I know that, you know, Klopp loves Firmino. You know, he's part of the system, and Liverpool are a system.
It's a system. Yeah.
Aim for the title. Probably won't win it.
Title's on the cards, you know.
You know, I think they'll come second, and that's purely based on the fact that Van Dijk's been out and Man City have found their form.
Yeah.
It could be a really good title race, though.
Yeah, definitely.
And
100%.
I think they are second favourite.
Yeah.
Clearly.
I agree. I don't think anyone would disagree with that.
And that actually, I think, is the perfect time to move on to the final team.
Top of the table.
Don't think we ever thought we were going to say this when we came up with this idea. Manchester United sit top of the Premier League. And it hurts quite.
And Fernandes has been amazing.
Yeah. Thanks, Julian.
Okay. Fuck you guys.
Obviously, he's transformed the side.
He has. He really has.
But, you know, you see time and time again, he drops a 4 out of 10 performance, but still gets an assist or a goal.
Big games. No, he's not a big game player.
He
drops his level when he comes up against anyone of quality.
Very overhyped by the media. A good player. But I saw that
he's a great player. He's United's best player. He's the best player in the team that's in the top of the Premier League. Like, respect to him. He's just not better than Kevin De Bruyne.
Listen, without him, there would be absolutely nowhere, and that's a fact. But he's not as good as he's made out to be.
Yeah.
He's a great player.
At the same time, he is crucial to them.
Lose him and they're screwed.
So who are we saying for, like... So obviously Bruno Fernandes is the best player of the season.
Yeah.
I said Fred the most disappointing.
I don't think he's been most disappointing.
I know, but 12 appearances and no goals and assists for Fred. I know he's just a midfielder, but I don't think he provides the same spark as someone like
I'm not
Fred.
saying he's been excellent, but I don't think he's been
There's actually been a couple of disappointing players. First of all, I just want to finish off the top players. Rashford, 7 goals, 5 assists, the things he's doing off the pitch as well. Not that really brings it into contention, but he's been pretty good. The thing is, they're top of the league without any hugely standout players other than Fernandes, you know?
Pogba's coming back into form at the moment.
I actually wrote it, Pogba needs to play.
Yeah.
He needs to play week in, week out.
Yeah.
He's better than McTominay.
Yeah.
He's better than Fred, and that is not a question.
Yeah.
He's better than my disappointment of the season, Donny van de Beek.
No, that's on. If they just played him, he'd be excellent.
He probably would. It's
I'd take him at Man City. We'll play you. We'll play you. You can be a world-class player for a title-winning team, actually, instead of a team that hasn't won the league for 7 years.
Shocked.
He must
Or
be
finished
doing
above City for 7 years.
He must be doing something wrong at training or something.
Something, or rather, because he's an excellent player.
Because he is a great player.
Yeah. So I don't know.
It's disappointing in the fact that he hasn't performed.
I'd actually say Martial's my most disappointing. He just looks clumsy on the ball.
5 goal involvements from a player that is dubbed as ice cold. 2 goals, 3 assists. Poor.
Yeah, poor. He just looks clumsy. He loses the ball too often.
You are not
his playmaking ability.
I haven't seen Martial since FIFA.
Listen, he shows up against Chelsea every so often. That is it.
Yeah.
But most teams.
He's a good finisher, but his playmaking and ability to hold up play is not good enough in my head.
He's just done nothing at Man U for the last couple of years. He's just there.
He was pretty good at the end of last season, but
he's just there all the time.
Yeah.
Let's quickly move on to what has been their high point. Julian, what do you reckon? You don't really have a high point.
For Man U,
being
top is the high point.
Yeah,
literally. This is as good as it's
I don't know how
it's the first time they've been top.
I thought they were binned for Man U. I thought they were going to be in the latter half of the top 10.
Yeah, listen,
that's where I thought I had them.
It's a shock that they're top.
I actually had them finishing 3rd this year, and I still think they're going to finish 3rd.
They probably will.
Yeah.
Resoundingly, though, their low point, 6-1 loss to Tottenham.
Not even close. Yeah. That was disgraceful.
That is one of the worst performances I think I've ever watched.
The fridge.
Virginia.
Putting together a disaster class.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Other than that, there's not much to say.
Look,
aim for the title. You've got to. You're top in January.
Title, Europa League. They're on the cards.
You know, you shouldn't. I know I said Leicester should aim for that Europa League as well. Manchester United are a bigger club. They have the resources. They probably should win that Europa League.
But them being in the Europa League to begin with is a huge
considering that they were top of their group after 3 games and still fucked it.
Yeah.
Pogba has to play more before he makes his move away. I think it's probably also the right idea to let him go. He's been a decent servant.
You don't want to keep players around at the club who don't want to be there. That just breeds a toxic environment.
Go to PSG, go to Juventus.
Whatever.
It doesn't really matter. He's a class player, and I feel like he's being held back a little bit. Genuinely, on his day, one of the best in the league.
Yeah, in the world.
In the world as well.
Listen.
Does
that wrap up?
That about wraps it up.
That wraps up the whole Premier League.
Right, so I think it's time for us to do the team of the season so far. So let's start with goalkeeper. I think that's the most simple place to start. Who have you got?
I've got Martinez from Aston Villa.
I also have Martinez from Aston Villa.
52 saves, 15 appearances, 8 clean sheets, 16 goals conceded in 15 appearances, and 0 errors leading to goal.
Listen, we don't need to stick to that too long because I also went Martinez.
I think that's pretty...
Other shouts. Nick Pope, McCarthy and Edison as well.
Edison's been really good, yeah. He has.
Yes, it's City and they shouldn't concede as many as.
But even still, he's had to come up big a couple of times. You know, look.
The only person that's got the exact same amount of clean sheets as him is Martinez. If Mendy had continued his form, maybe.
No,
but I can't even rationalise that.
Yeah, this.
All right, let's move on to right backs. Julian.
Cancelo for me.
Cancelo for me. 7 wins, 4 draws, 1 loss for City.
Yeah.
12 appearances, an assist, 4 big chances created, 6 goals conceded only, 7 clean sheets, 0 errors leading to goal. Been excellent.
Yeah. He was in my others, which is fair enough. Reece James as well, and Kyle Walker-Peters.
Walker-Peters was my second.
Yeah, they're very good shouts. But I've gone Tyreek Lamptey, and there's a lot of bias there because Chelsea. He's been excellent for Brighton.
He has been great. Yeah.
However, I can understand if other people didn't want him there.
2 centre backs.
Julian, give us both of your centre backs.
I went for Vestergaard, of course, as a lock.
Yeah,
I think you two would have him as well.
Yep.
Sure did. Yeah.
But I also went for Luke Ayling from Leeds.
You really like Luke Ayling.
I do like Luke Ayling.
Yeah.
I think he's been amazing. So.
They're just not good enough defensively for me for him to make it.
Yeah.
Well, my second was Coady. So I mean, it's that or Ayling.
I can be called biased, but I've gone Ruben Diaz. He's been pretty much the best player in the league in my opinion since he started. Like he's if you're going to say that Bruno Fernandes has transformed Manchester United, then Ruben Diaz has transformed Manchester City to one of the best defensive units in world football, along with John Stones.
Listen, I wrote Vestergaard and Diaz. I'm actually going to change my mind. Vestergaard, yes, 100%. I want to put Fofana in there. I really rate Fofana this year. Diaz, brilliant shout. I think.
All I'll say is, I think I might be jumping the gun here a bit with Diaz because he hasn't been played every game so far. But I think by the end of the season he'll be undisputedly in the team.
We'll see how that goes.
I think that's a clear lock.
Other names: Tyrone Mings, excellent.
Excellent, yep.
Tarkowski as well, having a quietly decent season. John Stones with his partnership with Diaz, and then the 2 Chelsea boys, Zuma and Silva. If we had done this a couple months ago, they would be in there. We'll have to reassess at the end of the season. Left back, and I feel like there's
a lack of options here.
There's 3 options, and that would be Robertson, Sergio Reguilon, and Chilwell.
Okay.
So I had Chilwell just personally. But Robertson.
I got Robertson.
And I actually went Reguilon. So
there you go. Mixed bag.
Reguilon's definitely an upgrade for Spurs, and
I think that's one where it's time.
Robertson's been their best.
Yeah, time will tell who's going to finish that.
I think the midfield's going to be.
So I actually think the rest of the team is pretty set.
So we're playing a 4-3-3 with this. For me, we've all gone, I believe, with 3 attacking midfielders, which
doesn't make sense.
It's more of a 3 midfielders, just pick the best options rather than actually building a team. It's not about building a team. It's just pick the 3 best midfielders.
Fernandes would be the first one.
Fernandes. Then Kevin De Bruyne and Jack Grealish.
Jack Grealish as well.
Unanimous there, all 3.
Not much you need to say. De Bruyne probably will, if he continues his ways, could be shout for player of the season.
Look, 13 big chances for De Bruyne, 12 for Jack Grealish, 10 for Bruno Fernandes. Fernandes goal and assist ratio. He's averaging 1.05 goals and assists per 90. Unbelievable.
That's really good. Yeah. And Grealish just is phenomenal.
Yeah, Grealish and Kevin De Bruyne are both in the 0.8 range of goals.
I think they're the 3 standouts this season.
Left wing?
Left wing, I've gone with Heung-min Son. Sensational.
Son.
You just can't question that. As well as Harry Kane up top.
Although, Jamie Vardy's pushing he's extremely unlucky how good Kane's been.
I also said that Danny Ings is pushing a case.
Yeah, both Vardy,
and actually, Calvert-Lewin.
Yeah.
So 4 English strikers in contention. I'm going to say Kane, 22 goal and
11 goals, 11 assists.
Are
you kidding me? That's unbelievable.
He's on track to, break the goal scoring record. He's going to go down as one of the biggest names ever in the Premier League. He is fantastic. I was so anti-Kane.
Yeah,
that is based on my Chelsea. I don't like him. I really don't like him. But fuck, he's a good player.
I've always thought he was class. So and then finishing it off, Mo Salah from Liverpool.
Mo Salah, definitely.
Just got a 1.25 goal and assist per 90. Unbelievable.
Yeah,
great player.
So the attacking midfield is pretty unanimous there.
Yeah, and there's no real need to make an argument for other people.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
So striker's the only one that you could maybe
because there's so many
out.
good options. Yeah. But I guess a lot of it's going to have to come down to where teams finish in the table and how they play for the rest of the season.
Obviously, we plan on making this a regular thing. We plan on building the Man On podcast, and we haven't quite worked out the ifs or buts for the rest of the season, but we're looking forward to it, and we will address at the end of the season our predictions. We'll look back and see who's underperformed, who's overachieved, and we'll make a team of the season then. And I think there'll be a lot of differences maybe. There's a long way to go, but this season is looking like it's going to be a really good season.
Yeah, really, right down to the wire.
You could really see Chelsea flopping, or you could see them getting up to the top. You could see Man City running away with the title, or it being another close chase. There's so many different scenarios, and I think that this season's only going to get better.
Yep, absolutely.
So I think that about wraps it up, and I want to personally thank everyone who's sat through the probably 2 hours. We've been here for 4 hours filming.
We've had a few camera issues.
A few camera issues. It's only going to get better from here.
Thanks heaps for watching. Really appreciate it.
If you have stuck around, even if you've just watched 10 minutes, we really appreciate it. We hope that you can stick around for the long run. And one day, if this shit takes off, we can look back. We can look back on the humble beginnings of Julian's garage.
We are literally sitting in my garage right now, and just talking to a camera. So we would really appreciate a like, or just to get us out there.
It's the start of a dream. The dream is to work in media. The dream is to work in sport. This is our dream, and we hope that you can be here for the long run. So thank you guys. Until next time.
See you later.
See ya.